Chapter 3196. Collect as I wish? Then Night's sorrow won't be courteous. Setting up the teleportation array indeed requires a lot of materials. In addition, I want to set up some array formations at the location of the teleportation array. This all requires materials. After Night's sorrow finished speaking, he collected all kinds of materials in the secret room. At this time, Tian and I said, don't just collect materials. In the secret room, there are also resources that can be used for cultivation, as well as black thorn crystals, talismans, etc. Collect whatever you need. After you are done collecting, I will keep these things in my space. After all, I probably won't return to see Dragon City in the future. All right. I won't be courteous with the things I need. Night's sorrow did not stand on ceremony with Tian and I. Both sides exchanged to learn Tian and I 9 steps and Supreme Dragon subduing technique. Compared to these two absolute arts, the resources in front of him were nothing. After spending about 4 hours, Night's sorrow collected all the resources he needed. He found Tian and I and said, Senior Tian and I have collected all the resources I need. Next, I can start setting up the teleportation array. All right. No one can enter here. You can set it up as you wish. Tian and I nodded. At this time, although he had been in human form, his body still had the sharpness of a sword. All right. In addition, I will set up an array formation around the teleportation array. After Night's sorrow finished speaking, he set up the teleportation array in the secret room. After finishing, he set up a 5-bowl array around it. After the array was set up, Night's sorrow looked at Tian and I and said, Senior Tian and I, what needs to be set up has been completed. Next, I will go to the Sea of Evil with my friends. You can cultivate the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in peace. Go. Take this jade pendant. If you encounter an irresistible danger, crush it and I will immediately appear. Tian and I took out a white jade pendant and handed it to Night's sorrow. Receiving the cold jade pendant, Night's sorrow said, I will try my best to be careful. Unless it is a last resort, I will not crush it. Go. Tian and I did not say anything else and let Night's sorrow leave with a sentence. He cultivated the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in the secret room. This absolute art was definitely a trump card against the Sea Dragon King. He had to learn it. However, the heaven-defying bead was, after all, a divine weapon that had gained sentience. Its comprehension ability was not as high as Night's sorrow's, so its progress was slower. While Tian and I was learning the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Night's sorrow gathered Whirling Lady, Su Lei, No Flower, and Ape Tian Lai. I finally have something to do. After Night's sorrow explained the purpose of his trip, Dancing Woman revealed a smile on her face. During these days in Sea Dragon City, she felt extremely bored and suffocated. Everyone, be careful. The sea dragons of the evil sea are extremely powerful. We should not attack them unless we have no other choice. While flying towards the Sea of Evil, he said to Su Lei, How are your injuries? Su Lei had the bloodline of Yu Jia and was very talented in battle. He should be even more powerful than Dancing Woman and could be considered a very powerful helper. I've almost fully recovered. I should be able to fight against ordinary Middle Heavenly Sovereigns. After a period of interaction, Su Lei was no longer so repulsed by Night's sorrow, so he replied. However, the tone of her voice was still the same as before, and it didn't sound very friendly. Very good. If we encounter a sea dragon and can't avoid it, we must kill it quickly. We must kill him as soon as possible. We can't expose ourselves. Yi Shang added. He then glanced at the others and said, If we can get this done quietly, our journey to the ocean of evil will be very smooth. After it's over, I will not mistreat everyone. You don't have to be so courteous. Since we have already arrived here, we will not be calculative about the reward. After Night's sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady replied, You just need to remember that you owe us a favor this time. Everyone, I will not forget this favor. Don't worry. After Night's sorrow said this, he reminded everyone, We are already very close to the Sea of Evil. Let's lower our flying altitude and sneak in quietly. Okay. I will scout the way. After Whirling Lady finished speaking, she opened the vertical eye on her forehead and observed the Sea of Evil in front of them. She was looking for a way to enter the Sea of Evil for everyone. Night Sorrow said, I will be on guard. If I find any enemies, I will alert everyone immediately. After that, he opened the eye of the sea serpent and observed the surroundings. We will try our best to suppress our auras. After Yen Tianlai said this, he suppressed his aura and became similar to that of an ordinary person. Although the others did not say anything, they did the same. They all knew that in the Sea of Evil, there was a sea dragon king that they could not fight against, as well as many other dangerous existences. No one dared to be careless. Everyone, follow me. I have found a good route. Whirling Lady, who was holding a map, said as she looked at the situation in the sea. Let's go. The others immediately followed her into the Sea of Evil. As soon as they entered the Sea of Evil, they felt an evil aura rushing towards them. This aura contained an extremely crazy and bloodthirsty aura. Although they had lived in the foggy area for a long time, they were still not used to it. Whirling Lady frowned and said, if we stay in this environment for a long time, we will definitely be affected by this aura and our minds will become extremely violent. That will be detrimental to our cultivation. We must speed up our operation this time. Yes. We can't stay here for long. Let's end this quickly. No Flower also said very uncomfortably. The others' expressions were also very solemn. Although the aura of the foggy area could also make people crazy, there was a limit. The Sea of Evil was completely different. It would make people lose control. Let's get as close to Sea Dragon Imperial City as possible and set up a few teleportation arrays around it. Then we can leave. At this moment, Night Sorrow explained and continued, let's hurry up and move forward. In fact, he was not afraid of this evil aura because he had the power of merit in his body. However, he could not use the power of merit to help anyone other than Yen Tianlai. Attention! 10,000 miles ahead, there is a sea dragon undergoing tribulation. We must avoid it immediately. As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady, who had been observing the front, reminded him. In front of them was a sea dragon who had just advanced to Sky Supreme and was undergoing tribulation. His strength was definitely weaker than Night Sorrow and the others. If they went forward, it was very likely that they would be able to kill the other party instantly. However, a sea dragon's tribulation would cause a lot of commotion and might alarm other sea dragons. Therefore, they had to leave this place immediately. Not good. There are many sea dragons rushing over nearby. We have to hide on the spot or we will definitely be exposed. At this moment, Night Sorrow reminded them silently. He realized that the commotion caused by the sea dragon's tribulation had indeed attracted many sea dragons. If they did not leave and hide, they would definitely be discovered. Chapter 3197. Where can we hide at such a close distance? No Flower asked. For cultivators, they could be discovered at any time from thousands of miles away. It would be very difficult to hide. Everyone, don't panic. Follow me to the bottom of the sea. I will set up a concealment array. It should be able to last for a while. After Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to everyone, he took the lead and flew to the bottom of the sea. After reaching the bottom, he set up a concealment array. This kind of concealment array was not enough for ordinary heavenly sovereigns to see through. If someone looked carefully, they would definitely be exposed. But at this time, the sea dragon and the other creatures of the Sea of Evil should be focused on the sea dragon. He felt that it would not be so easy to be discovered. This array can't even hide from my detection. Is it safe? Because the concealment array was not perfect, Dancing Lady immediately questioned. The array's quality is limited, but we have no other choice now. Everyone, hide your aura and wait here in peace. It's best if we are not discovered. If we are discovered, we will be killed immediately. Our infiltration into the sea of evil must not be exposed. Otherwise, it will affect the overall situation. For now, this is the only way. Dancing Lady had no other choice. She could only hide her aura and hide in the array with Night Sorrow and the others. However, she was different from the others. Her eyes were very special. Without releasing the power of her divine soul, she could still detect the surroundings. Together with Night Sorrow, she alerted everyone. In the next hour, everyone waited quietly in the array. Loud rumbling sounds came from outside. Obviously, there was a battle. Why are the people outside fighting? Aren't they all from the Sea of Evil? Yen Tianlai, who could not see outside, asked curiously. The cultivators outside are besieging the sea dragon. At this point in the battle, the sea dragon has been killed, and even its flesh and blood have been absorbed. The competition in the Sea of Evil is far more intense than we imagined. The aura of the Sea of Evil really drives people crazy. They even want to kill their own kind. Hearing Night Sorrow's description, Yen Tianlai frowned. Dancing Lady smiled disdainfully and said, "Isn't it the same in the foggy area? Plundering resources is the purest law of survival." That is indeed the case. Where there are cultivators, there will be fighting. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he waited for about 2 hours and said, "The storm outside has already passed, let's go out and continue." He was lucky that he wasn't discovered this time. We'll have to be more careful next time. Don't worry. The matter before their eyes was already a wake-up call for everyone. No one will continue to be careless. After she finished speaking, she continued to lead the way. Night Sorrow chose to bring up the rear. Under the guidance of the two of them, the team kept getting closer to the center of the Sea of Evil. After traveling for about a day, Night Sorrow suddenly said, "Everyone, wait." The corals in this area were very dense. It was the perfect place to set up a teleportation formation. I'll go make some arrangements. Good. We will protect you. Whirling Woman, who was constantly observing the surroundings, responded immediately. Wu Hua and Yen Tianlai also looked over. As for Su Lei, he was a little cold and arrogant. He didn't talk much with the others. This is the first time I've seen pure black corals. The corals in the Sea of Evil were dozens of times taller than the corals in the ordinary sea. After entering, Night Sorrow felt as if he had walked into a huge maze. After observing the surroundings, he couldn't help but sigh. The corals in front of him were too magnificent, but because they were black, they looked a little strange. Night Sorrow. I feel that this place is a little strange. But I can't tell what's going on. Just as Night Sorrow was choosing a location to set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly reminded him. Is it a little strange? Let me take a closer look. The reminders from the restriction-breaking hammer and the various parts of the Eternal Divine Tower were not groundless. After Night Sorrow responded, he used the sea serpent's eye and the power of his godly soul to investigate the surroundings. After doing so, he suddenly felt his scalp tingle. It turned out that in every coral, there was a kind of disgusting black leech. These leeches were basically at the level of a lower heavenly supreme, and their numbers were terrifying. If not 10 million, there were at least 8 million. We can't set up a formation here. Let's leave immediately. After discovering these black leeches, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to everyone, asking them to leave together. You came to our territory and still want to escape. Let me tell you, all the cultivators who dare to approach here have become blood food. Just as Night Sorrow and the others were about to quickly leave the coral, a cold voice suddenly sounded from the coral. Following that, the cold voice sounded. The black leeches hidden in the coral swarmed out in tens of thousands. Why are there leeches in the sea? And there are so many of them. Seeing millions of leeches appear, Wu Hua roared with a headache. Swaying Lady said worriedly, with such a big formation, we will definitely be exposed. To them, fighting was not the most terrifying thing. Alarming the sea dragon was the most terrifying thing. Su Lei, who had not spoken much, said coldly, "We won't be exposed." The voice just now has already said it clearly. Cultivators who dare to approach here will basically become blood food. Therefore, under normal circumstances, no cultivators will approach. If we can kill the leech army in front of us, we can be considered to have a base. Yes. That should be the case. Let's attack together and get rid of these leeches. Their individual strength is not strong, but they have the advantage in numbers. We can't be careless. Knight Sorrow agreed and took out the golden heavenly halberd that had been dyed black. He directly attacked the leech army with Raging Flames Demon, wanting to use the flames to burn these leeches to death. As for the seawater of the Sea of Evil, it was unable to extinguish the flames. Hee, you want to destroy my leech army with such flames? What a joke. At this moment, the cold voice sounded again. Along with his laughter, everyone immediately felt a strong sense of oppression. At this moment, Su Lei judged, the owner of this voice is at least a middle heavenly supreme, and his strength is not weak. Not only do we have to deal with the leeches, but we also have to be wary of his sneak attacks. She could not determine where the owner of this voice was hiding. Therefore, she reminded them. At this moment, Knight Sorrow suddenly said, "You guys deal with the leeches together. I will fight the owner of this voice. There shouldn't be any sea dragon nearby that likes to come close. Everyone can use your secret techniques to your heart's content." When the voice spoke again, he immediately found its location. Chapter 3198. As long as you restrain them, it shouldn't be too difficult for us to deal with the leeches. Whirling Lady roared at Knight Sorrow. Then, she immediately used the 1,000 illusion eyes. She summoned all the small eyes in the vertical eye and placed them in the sea. These eyeballs were similar to black holes, but in the pitch-black sea, they still had a sense of existence. When they were summoned, these black holes released rays of light. They blasted towards the incoming leech army. Good move. Su Lei, who was at the side, saw Whirling Lady use the 1,000 illusion eyes and praised. Then, it let out a clear and melodious cry. Then, it spat out a large amount of Yujia flames, illuminating the area they were in. This kind of momentum was extremely exaggerated in the Sea of Evil. However, none of the sea dragons that discovered the battle here came close. Obviously, the leech army and its master had caused a lot of trouble for the sea dragons in the past. They usually avoided this area when they were active. We can't just let the women fight. Let's go too. Whirling Lady and Su Lei attacked the leech army one after another. Yuan Tianlai roared and released his divine domain, rushing towards the leeches. After he attacked, Wu Hua also used his methods to attack. While the four of them were fighting with the leech army, Knight Sorrow had already dug out the leech's master. After this person appeared, Knight Sorrow discovered that the other party was indeed a middle heavenly supreme cultivator. At this moment, this person had transformed into a male cultivator. His face was sinister and gave off an evil and awe-inspiring feeling. Knight Sorrow opened the sea dragon's eye and observed, but he couldn't see through his true form. He wasn't sure what this person's true form was, but he guessed that it was definitely some kind of evil creature. Why? Do you want to know who I am? Seeing Knight Sorrow sizing him up, the leech's master revealed a sinister smile. The divine domain on his body also bloomed. I'm a little curious. How can you control the Sea of Evil alone and not be punished by the Sea Dragon King? Could it be that you are his subordinate? Knight Sorrow could sense that the group didn't feel much pressure dealing with the leech army. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry to attack and started to talk with the other party. He was sure that no sea dragon dared to approach, and it was definitely because of this cultivator in front of him. If there were no accidents, the other party would definitely hunt sea dragons on a daily basis. He didn't understand why the Sea Dragon King didn't kill an existence that was hunting sea dragons in the Sea of Evil. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the leech master sneered, "The sea dragons of the evil sea also want to know the answer to your question. But none of them could get the answer without dying. The few of you will be like the sea dragon that was killed. The moment before you are killed, you will get the answer to your question. Die. At this point, the leech master, who had transformed into a male cultivator, suddenly struck out a palm towards Night Sorrow. His attack was different from that of an ordinary cultivator. His arm extended infinitely, reaching straight for Night Sorrow's head and slamming down. This action seemed complicated, but his speed was extremely fast. By the time Night Sorrow reacted, his opponent's palm was already on top of his head. So fast. Not only was Night Sorrow surprised by this attack, but Little Seven, who was in the space grotto heaven, was also in disbelief. This was because the opponent's attack was actually faster than the light of an ordinary sky sovereign. It is indeed very fast. If it was me in the past, I wouldn't be able to dodge it at all. At this moment, Night Sorrow was responding to Little Seven as he suddenly executed the first step of the 9 defiant steps. He successfully dodged this attack. The Leech Master's attack directly hit the bottom of the sea. Boom! This palm was extremely powerful, and when it hit the bottom of the sea, it immediately caused the surrounding 10,000 miles to tremble. Your movement technique is unexpectedly good. The Leech Master was in disbelief that Night Sorrow had dodged his attack. Then, he threatened coldly, I will give you a chance. If you teach me your complete movement technique, I will spare your life. I can spare your lives and treat it as if nothing happened today. Even if I teach it to you, you won't be able to learn it. Night Sorrow looked at him coldly. Yan's movement technique was the precious treasure of the eternal supreme world. Naturally, he couldn't teach it to an evil creature. Is that so? Then I'll devour you and take everything you have for myself. The Leech Master saw Night Sorrow's attitude of rejection and launched another fierce attack. This time, he threw a punch at Night Sorrow. When the fist was close, Night Sorrow executed the first move of the 9 defiant steps again and successfully dodged it. However, just as Night Sorrow dodged, he saw a huge mouth suddenly open where the opponent's fist was. In this round mouth, there were almost 1,000 sharp teeth. The key was, after it opened its mouth, thousands of sharp teeth shot out. Every tooth turned into a sharp sword at this moment. After shooting out these teeth, the Leech Master sneered, let's see how you dodge this time. Looks like I need to execute all the moves of the 9 defiant steps to dodge it. The few of them are still in good condition. I just need to restrain the opponent in front of me. At this moment, Night Sorrow observed that the other 4 people had an obvious advantage in the battle against the Leech army. He immediately decided to continue the battle with the Leech Master in front of him. After thinking for a while, he directly executed the pure 9 defiant steps. Under the attack of thousands of sharp teeth, he was like a butterfly flitting through flowers, constantly dodging. You can even dodge such an attack. This movement technique is simply heaven-defying. I must learn it. Seeing that Night Sorrow could dodge the thousands of sharp teeth attacks so easily, the Leech Master immediately became excited. In his life, he had never seen such a mysterious movement technique. His desire to take it for himself was even stronger. You want to learn it? You'd better defeat me first. In the moment when the Leech Master was distracted, Night Sorrow immediately executed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. This dragon subduing technique could unleash almost 3 times the effect when fighting dragons. But it could also be used in normal battles. Night Sorrow felt that against the opponent in front of him, his Qingxian Godly Spear technique should not be of much use. This time, when he executed the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, Night Sorrow was a little surprised. Because the last time he executed it, a huge Kuan Peng appeared. After the Kuan Peng appeared, it directly subdued his opponent. And this time, when he executed it again, a huge Kuan Peng appeared. This Kuan Peng looked a little like a whale, but it was much bigger. After it appeared, it immediately opened its mouth and tried to swallow the Leech Master. What kind of move is this? You ant, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. But all these are futile. Seeing the huge Kuan Peng opening its mouth and trying to swallow him, the Leech Master roared and immediately transformed into his original form. Chapter 3199. So you are also a sea dragon. However, you are a little different from other sea dragons. You are an anomaly. After the leech master transformed into his true form, Night Sorrow discovered that he was a sea dragon. However, he looked a little deformed and looked like the product of a sea dragon and a leech. Although there was a dragon head, the lower half of his body looked like a leech. You are the anomaly. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the deformed sea dragon immediately flew into a rage. He wanted to destroy the Kun that Night Sorrow had summoned with a swing of his tail. However, he did not expect that the Kun that had opened its mouth would actually bite off his tail. After his tail was bitten off, he immediately let out a loud roar. He was completely enraged. At the same time, the leeches that were fighting against Hasa Lady and the others all turned into blood in an instant. The blood that they had turned into quickly gathered towards the deformed sea dragon. After absorbing the blood, the deformed sea dragon's tail quickly recovered. At this moment, he looked at Night Sorrow and said coldly, "Didn't you want to know why the Sea Dragon King didn't kill me? Let me tell you, I am also the son of the Sea Dragon King. My name is Ao Shui. All of you, die." After Ao Shui roared, he immediately spat out a dark dragon breath at Night Sorrow. Awoo. At this moment, the Kun that Night Sorrow had summoned moved again and swallowed the dragon breath. Moreover, it swallowed Ao Shui again. However, this Kun had already started to blur and could not hold on for long. Without this Kun, you are nothing. Ao Shui, who was completely enraged, roared and began to fight with this Kun. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at the others and transmitted his voice, "Everyone, attack together and kill Ao Shui. If I'm not wrong, he must be a prince that the Sea Dragon King despises. No matter how big the commotion is, he will not ask the Sea Dragon King for help. That's right. The Sea Dragon King will definitely despise him, a prince that was born from a leech." After Hasa Lady finished speaking, she used all evil descends on Ao Shui. Su Lei transformed into Yujia and joined the battle. Their strength was basically not inferior to Night Sorrow's, and their battle prowess was extremely strong. As for the relatively weaker ape Tianlai and No Flower, they were responsible for sneak attacks. While Night Sorrow and the others were keeping Ao Shui in check, they began to take advantage of the situation and launched continuous attacks. Although Ao Shui was a middle heavenly sovereign and was relatively strong, he was restrained by Kun and besieged. Soon, he was forced into a passive position. While being besieged, he did not choose to call for help. Instead, he continued to burn his bloodline to increase his combat strength. Towards the end of the battle, he forcefully destroyed the Kun summoned by Night Sorrow. However, he was also heavily injured by Night Sorrow and the others. At this time, after being struck by the dancing woman's evil descent, he began to feel more and more miserable. But even under such circumstances, he did not seek help from the Sea Dragon King. Obviously, it wasn't just the Sea Dragon King who hated him. He didn't like the Sea Dragon King's father either. "I'll kill him." After fighting for about an hour, Su Lei, who had transformed into Yujia, saw that the time was ripe. He roared and was ready to kill Ao Shui directly. At this time, Night Sorrow hurriedly sent a message, "Destroy his soul and keep his body. It's very useful." "Oh. Is that so?" After replying to Night Sorrow, Su Lei stopped and only destroyed Ao Shui's soul. After Ao Shui's soul was destroyed, Night Sorrow said, "We are too conspicuous in the sea of evil. I'm going to refine Ao Shui's body into a puppet and bring you all to the sea of evil." This is indeed a good idea. No matter what, Ao Shui is the son of the Sea Dragon King. Ordinary people will definitely not dare to provoke him. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the dancing woman immediately agreed. The others also felt that this was a good idea. After that, Night Sorrow took out the 9-dragon cauldron and threw Ao Shui's body into it. He used the most primitive method to refine a puppet. After this puppet was refined, it was similar to a divine artifact. Yi Shang used a sliver of his god's soul to successfully control it. Then, he controlled it to transform into a human form and put himself and the others into the space. After confirming that this was feasible, Night Sorrow immediately set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation on Ao Shui's body. After all this was done, he began to use Ao Shui's body to walk around the Sea of Evil. He set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation. This Ao Shui was a well-known figure in the Sea of Evil. Almost no one dared to provoke him. Therefore, their operation was very smooth. Once, Night Sorrow bumped into the 9th Prince Ao Lai, who he had defeated before. Originally, he thought that Ao Lai would discover something. Unexpectedly, after Ao Lai saw the puppet Ao Shui, he immediately fled with his subordinates. Obviously, he was also afraid of Ao Shui. Haha. After refining Ao Shui into a puppet, we will be able to enter the Sea of Evil as if there is no one there. After setting up several 5-bull formations and the teleportation formation, the dancing woman said in a good mood. Even she was a little afraid of the absolute emperor of the Sea of Evil, the Sea Dragon King. After having Ao Shui as a puppet, everything became simple. She also felt a lot more relaxed. The others also felt the same. They felt that their luck was not bad. Because using Ao Shui's body to walk around, they found that there were countless heavenly supreme sea dragons hiding around the Sea Dragon Imperial City. If they did not have Ao Shui as a shield, they would have been attacked by the group. Everyone. We have completed the task of setting up the teleportation formation. But I am going to draw a map of the Sea of Evil. I will take up a little more of your time. About a year later, Night Sorrow successfully set up 18 teleportation formations. He felt that it was about time. So, he led the group to continue to walk around the Sea of Evil and draw a map of the Sea of Evil. This map, except for the Sea Dragon Imperial City and the 2 bottomless trenches, had mapped out everything in the Sea of Evil. It was very strategic. After receiving the map, Heaven Defying exclaimed in admiration, "This map is well drawn. It is very valuable. The few of you have done well." After saying that, he took out some resources and distributed them to everyone one by one. These resources were nothing to the dancing woman and Su Lei. They were more relaxed. But to Yuan Tian Lai and No Flower, who did not have any background, it was definitely good stuff. They were more excited. After Tian and I distributed the resources, Night Sorrow asked, "Senior Tian and I, how is your learning of the Supreme Dragon subduing skill? Have you completely comprehended it?" "Sigh, to tell you the truth, my talent is not very good. There are a few things that I can't figure out." Hearing this, Tian and I said helplessly. He was born from the heaven-defying sword and his comprehension was not very good. In the 2 years that Night Sorrow had left, he had not completely mastered the Supreme Dragon subduing skill. Chapter 3200. It's fine. Since Senior Heaven Defying has not mastered it, I will help Senior learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in the future. This move will erupt with unexpected power when dealing with dragons. I must learn it. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. Now that he had obtained the puppet Sea Dragon Ao Shui, the chances of obtaining the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower had greatly increased. What he needed to consider was how to escape. If Heaven Defying could learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, he should be able to restrain the Sea Dragon King. To him, it was very beneficial. Hearing this, Heaven Defying sighed and said, "It's good to have your guidance. But as a senior, I still need a junior to guide me. It's a little embarrassing." Senior. There were different levels of knowledge and specialization in different fields. I learned the Supreme Dragon subduing technique before you. There's nothing embarrassing about you learning from me. Night Sorrow replied with a smile. He felt that this was not a big deal. All right. Heaven Defying replied to Night Sorrow and looked at the others. All of you, disperse and do your own things. Wait for the summons. All right. Everyone, including Whirling Woman, immediately chose to disperse. Among them, Yuan Tian Lai and Wu Hua used the remaining years to cultivate. After they left, Night Sorrow entered Heaven-Defying's secret room and guided him in his cultivation. After a period of guidance, Night Sorrow discovered that Heaven-Defying's problem was that he was too sharp and did not know how to be flexible. This should be a major drawback of sword-type gods. Therefore, in the process of guiding Heaven-Defying to learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Night Sorrow also constantly helped him perfect his fighting style. About 5 years later, Heaven-Defying successfully learned the Supreme Dragon subduing technique and had greatly improved in terms of fighting. Before coming out of seclusion, Heaven-Defying looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Sorrow, after learning your Supreme Dragon subduing technique and fighting techniques, my chances of winning in the Sea of Evil will at least increase by 30%. Thank you. Senior Heaven-Defying, you're welcome. After all, our goals are similar." Night Sorrow said politely. He was determined to obtain the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. As for Heaven-Defying's goal, it was the Sea-Calming Divine Iron. Hearing this, Heaven-Defying smiled and said, "Our goals are very different. When I attack the Sea Divine Iron, all the sea dragons in the Sea of Evil will be attracted to me. At that time, it will be very easy for you. When the time comes, if there is anything that I can help you with, Senior Yi Shang would definitely do his best. After all, your advancement is a great thing for the Eternal Paragon world." Before leaving the secret room, Heaven-Defying, 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 Heaven-Defying Dragon. I hope that this time, I can at least recover to half a step into the limitless realm. Tian and I sighed and then said, 2 years later, we will set off on time. Go and prepare. Good. After Yi Shang finished speaking, he went to find Dancing Woman, Su Lei, and the others. After gathering everyone, he said, "Everyone, our most important goal in the Sea of Evil is the Eternal Devil Tower. Once we're done, I'll give all of the Killer Heaven Academy's points to everyone. Of course, if anyone wishes to withdraw, you can do so now. I've decided to go with you." Hearing this, Heaven-Defying Dragon was satisfied. To them, the Heaven-Defying Dragon's points were very important. None of them did not care. "I have no objections." Su Lei also spoke, but she wasn't sure if Yi Shang's words included her. She was very conflicted. On one hand, she had sworn loyalty to the organization. On the other hand, she had lost to Night Sorrow in a bet. She was very confused. After all, she used to be the empress of a region. As for Wu Hua, he listened to Heaven-Defying Dragon. Since she had decided to go, he had no reason to refuse. Yuan Tianlai was Night Sorrow's man, so he did not refuse either. Okay. Since everyone has decided to go, let's practice the formation. Yi Shang immediately said when he saw that everyone had agreed. Formation? What formation? Heaven-Defying Dragon asked. The others also looked at Night Sorrow in confusion. Combined attack technique and formation array. In a battle, it would bring about unexpected results. When Brother Yun Yi and Brother Xian Nian arrive, we will begin. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he and the others waited for Yun Yi and Xian Nian. Not long after, the two of them arrived. Night Sorrow began to teach them the combined attack technique. After everyone had mastered the combined attack technique, he began to teach them the combined attack formation. Although there were only 7 of them, he was able to fight 1 against 3, so he was basically able to use a joint attack formation. After learning the combined attack formation, Yun Yi immediately exclaimed, "This combined attack formation is unheard of, but the effect is surprisingly good. It is indeed very powerful. The 7 of us, together with the Night Devil's puppet, can use the combined attack formation. I think we can compete with upper heavenly sovereigns. In the Sea of Evil, unless the Sea Dragon King attacks, we should not be threatened." Heaven-Defying Dragon agreed. She found Yi Shan's joint attack array somewhat inconceivable. As a native of the foggy area, she had never seen such a formation. Since everyone thinks the combined attack formation is good, let's practice it while we still have time. After all, practice makes perfect. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he led everyone to practice for more than a year. When Tian and I summoned them and was ready to set off, their cooperation was already very good. After Tian and I gathered a few hundred people, he sent a message to the Sea Dragon King, asking him to send someone to pick up the Sea Dragon City's team. This was considered a respect to the Sea of Evil. While waiting for the messenger, Tian and I sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. After we reach the Sea of Evil, we will stay for some time. A few days ago. We will spar as usual. Usually, we will investigate the target. Wait for me to attract their attention, then you can make your move. Okay. Understood. Night Sorrow replied. After that, Tian and I told Night Sorrow something, and they followed the Sea Dragon King's messenger to the Sea of Evil. They flew above the Sea of Evil, and when they reached the Sea Dragon Imperial City, they entered the water together. When they entered the Sea Dragon Imperial City, the Sea Dragon King was already waiting with his group of princes and princesses. The Sea Dragon King, who was surrounded in the middle, looked similar to an emperor. While Tian and I, City Lord and Sea Dragon Emperor, were exchanging greetings. Ninth Prince Ao Lai's resentful gaze quickly locked onto Night Sorrow. He sent a voice transmission coldly, "I didn't expect you to come. There will definitely be a battle between us. How can a loser be brave?" Night Sorrow opened the Sea Dragon Eye and looked at Ninth Prince Ao Lai. At this time, Ao Lai's aura was much stronger, and it was obvious that his strength had increased. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, he was instantly enraged. Then he interrupted the conversation between Sea Dragon King and Tian and I, City Lord, pointed at Night Sorrow and said, "Father, I want to challenge that person." Chapter 3201. Impudent. I'm welcoming guests, how can you interrupt? Drag him down and behead him. Sea Dragon King, who was interrupted, immediately flew into a rage. At this moment, Tian and I smiled and said, "Dragon King, why bother with the juniors? If they want to challenge, we'll arrange it." After that, he tried to persuade the Sea Dragon King. In addition, the few princesses at the side also tried to persuade him. Sea Dragon King's gloomy face eased a little. He looked at Ao Lai and said, "This time, everyone will plead for you. I'll spare your life. If you don't know the rules next time, you'll be beheaded." "Father, I know my mistake." Ao Lai knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times in a row. Then, he said, "Father, please allow me to issue a challenge." After Ao Lai finished speaking, Sea Dragon King looked at Tian and I and said, "City Lord, what do you think? Since sparring is something that happens every time, it's good to come early. It can liven up the atmosphere." After Sea Dragon King said this, Tian and I immediately reacted. This was Sea Dragon King and the others singing a double act. They wanted the challenge to come directly. They didn't even want to lead everyone to tour Sea Dragon Imperial City and invite them to a banquet. However, he didn't refuse. Instead, he agreed. Good. City Lord is indeed a forthright person. Compared to the trade fair after the sparring, you will also take out something that is sincere enough. After Sea Dragon King finished speaking, he looked at Ao Lai and said, "Which one do you want to challenge? Point it out." When he said this, Sea Dragon King's aura immediately bloomed. It gave people an incomparably powerful feeling. Night Sorrow felt that he should have reached the peak of Upper Heavenly Sovereign and could enter the half-step extreme realm at any time. This kind of strength was stronger than Tian and I. "Father, the one I want to challenge is him." After getting permission, Ao Lai immediately pointed at Night Sorrow and said. Sea Dragon King saw that Night Sorrow's cultivation was only Middle Earthly Sovereign. He frowned and said, "Ao Lai, you've been arguing for so long just to challenge an earthly sovereign?" "Father, although he is an earthly sovereign, his actual combat strength is definitely at the heavenly sovereign level. Last time, I was defeated by him. This time, I want to take revenge." Ao Lai immediately explained when he saw the Sea Dragon King's expression darken. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King's expression recovered slightly. He snorted, "I'll give you a chance to challenge me. But if you lose to an Earth sovereign, you will no longer be part of the Sea Dragon Imperial family. Understand? Yes, I understand. After being reprimanded by the Sea Dragon King, Aeolai stood up and pointed at Night Sorrow. If you have the guts, come out and fight. In this battle, we will determine victory and defeat, as well as life and death. I've already said that you're a loser, and you have no chance of winning. Why must you seek your own death? Yi Shang naturally didn't feel the slightest bit of fear as he looked at Aeolai. Even though Aeolai's strength had increased significantly, he had already learned the Supreme Dragon subduing art. He would definitely be able to defeat him easily. However, at this moment, the heaven-defying beast transmitted a message: in battle, unless it is absolutely necessary, do not use the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. This is to prevent the Sea Dragon King from becoming vigilant. All right. With the heaven-defying beast's words, Night Sorrow felt that it made sense. He decided to give up on using the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. After speaking, he walked out of the crowd step by step. Don't worry, let's go to the battle arena. Seeing that Aeolai and Night Sorrow were about to attack, the Sea Dragon King immediately spoke. Then, everyone headed to the battle arena. This battle arena was built for both sides to spar, and there were tens of thousands of spectator seats. At this moment, the spectator seats were already filled with shrimp soldiers and crab generals. This was exactly the same as before. You guys go up. There are no rules. If one side dies, the battle will end. Sweeping a glance at the packed spectator seats, the Sea Dragon King, who had just finished arranging the heaven-defying beast and the rest, spoke coldly. Yes, father. When Aeolai heard this, he immediately flew up to the battle arena. Standing in the empty arena, he shouted at Night Sorrow, "Come up and accept your death. I'm here to take your life, loser." Night Sorrow had an obvious psychological advantage against Aeolai. He knew that his simple words could infuriate the other party. Just as Yi Shang had expected, Aeolai was immediately enraged. He roared, "Get over it. Roaming dragon." At the same time, he transformed into a sea dragon and attacked Night Sorrow. Roaming dragon? The name is not bad, but it's just a movement technique. Night Sorrow, who was observing Aeolai with the sea dragon's eye, discovered that roaming dragon was a movement technique and was surprised. At this moment, the heaven-defying beast sent a voice transmission. This is the movement technique that the Sea Dragon King is famous for. It's not simple. This Aeolai must have put in a lot of effort. Be careful. Don't worry, I'm fine. Hearing this, Night Sorrow replied with a smile. Then, he used the heaven-defying 9 steps to dodge Aeolai's attack. The Sea Dragon King's roaming dragon was very mysterious. When Aeolai used it, his movements were erratic and difficult to capture. However, Night Sorrow could use the Sea Dragon's eye to see through it and use the heaven-defying 9 steps to break it. After fighting for more than 10 breaths, Aeolai did not touch Night Sorrow at all. Night Sorrow used the golden heavenly halberd to strike Aeolai several times. This made Aeolai, who wanted to save face, angrier and angrier the more he fought. He burned his bloodline and raised his strength to the strongest. He roared, "This time, you will die without a doubt." Then, in the void, he used another of the Sea Dragon King's famous ultimate moves. Dragon Roar of the 9 Heavens. This Dragon Roar of the 9 Heavens was an ultimate move that attacked the soul. When Aeolai executed it, it immediately caused the entire martial arts arena to tremble. Using your blood essence to execute this move, you want to kill me instantly? When Aeolai used this move, Night Sorrow immediately understood his intentions. He understood that Aeolai wanted to determine the outcome in one move. He was surprised. He felt that Aeolai was a little rash. At this moment, the heaven-defying beast reminded, "Hit the energy resistance, otherwise, you might be destroyed by this move." Oh. Is it that terrifying? Hearing the heaven-defying beast's voice transmission, Night Sorrow was more or less alert. He set up a divine essence trapping array and other defensive methods around him. He also activated the 33 Heavens Battle Mystic technique, activated the Green Phoenix battle armor, and burned his bloodline. He used the Dragon Roar and Phoenix Cry to resist this move. After Night Sorrow roared, the sound waves of the two roars collided violently. Buzz! In the martial arts arena, a loud noise suddenly erupted. After the collision, Night Sorrow and Aoi floated in the air. Neither of them fell. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw Aoi, whose aura was already very weak, take out a pill and consume it. After that, his aura instantly recovered. In a few breaths of time, he recovered to his peak state. He immediately realized that Aoi was using a powerful move to exhaust him. Then, he despicably used pills to recover. Chapter 3202. Be careful. What Aoi swallowed is a sea spirit pill refined from a sea spirit root. It's a spirit medicine unique to the Sea of Evil Imperial family and can quickly recover vitality. It's best if you can insta-kill him in one strike. Seeing Aoi consume the sea spirit pill, Yunyi immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow to remind him. I have an ultimate technique to insta-kill him, but it's not convenient to use it. That will make the Sea Dragon King vigilant and be disadvantageous to the city lord. Yi Shang replied to Yunyi and then started fighting with Aoi again. This time, the move Aoi used was exactly the same as before. It was still Roaming Dragon and Roaring Dragon. Seeing Aoi use the exact same move, Night Sorrow immediately felt that it was somewhat funny. Facing these two moves, he still used the same move to respond and easily blocked the other party's attack. Although it consumed some energy, it wasn't much. However, at this time, Night Sorrow discovered that a trace of a sly smile appeared on Aoi's face. What's going on? Is he plotting something? Night Sorrow, who still chose to bide his time, secretly guessed in his heart. At this time, Yunyi reminded again, I feel that this Aoi is definitely plotting something. Be careful. I can see a little. But I can't guess. His kind of attack can consume my divine essence energy. But this kind of consumption speed, I can completely withstand it. Night Sorrow replied to Yunyi. Since you can't guess, then take the initiative to attack and don't give him any chance. Yunyi reminded worriedly. He felt that at this time, Night Sorrow was following Aoi's rhythm. This was somewhat dangerous. Don't worry, I'll be fine. He doesn't have the ability to insta-kill me. Night Sorrow replied and looked at Aoi again. This time, he was prepared to find an opportunity to counterattack after Aoi attacked. He knew that he definitely couldn't just let go. Are you very curious why I'm continuously using the same move to deal with you? Because to deal with you, using these two moves is enough. At this time, Aoi swallowed a few more pills. This time, not only did his aura completely recover, but it also grew wildly. Feeling the swelling strength, Aoi's face revealed a bloodthirsty smile. So you still have pills that can raise your aura. No wonder he looked so confident. As Aoi's strength continued to rise, Night Sorrow immediately felt a trace of pressure. At this moment, he started to think about how he could kill Aoi if he didn't execute the Supreme Dragon Subduing technique. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that his greatest advantage at the moment was the 9 heaven-defying steps. Immediately, he started to think about how to use the 9 steps of the heaven-defying technique to enhance his offensive unique skill. While Night Sorrow and Aoi were fighting, Sea Dragon King, who was sitting at the top of the viewing platform, looked at Heaven Defying beside him and asked, City Lord, who do you think will win the next battle? I was the one who brought Night Devil here, so I naturally think that he will win. Tian and I looked at Sea Dragon King and said. He was still very confident in Night Sorrow. If he really couldn't do it, he could just let Night Sorrow use the Supreme Dragon Subduing technique. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King smiled and said, I think Aoi will win. Since we don't agree, why don't we make a bet? Oh. What do you want to bet? Tian and I looked at Sea Dragon King and asked. He was still very confident in this bet. Sea Dragon King, who was also confident, pointed at Su Lei and said, "Bet on the beauty, what do you think? If I win, how about you give that female practitioner to me?" You. Hearing Sea Dragon King's words, Su Lei was a little angry. But the other party was too strong, she didn't have the ability to resist, so she didn't dare to say anything. Hee hee. It's not impossible to have Su Lei. If you lose, you have to give all 3 of your daughters to me, do you dare to bet? Tian and I, who knew that Su Lei was wronged, said with a fake smile. He directly asked for Sea Dragon King's 3 princesses, and with this, the smell of gunpowder rose. Lord City Lord, well said. Hearing Tian and I say this, Su Lei immediately transmitted her voice to vent her anger. She was very unhappy with the extremely lecherous Sea Dragon King. Hearing Tian and I mention Sea Dragon King, he was so angry that his dragon horns were almost crooked. He calmed down for a while before saying, "All right. I, Sea Dragon King, will accept your bet." Then, he transmitted his voice to Ao Lai, "Use all the things I taught you, and quickly kill him." "Yes, father. Your son will definitely kill him. I won't embarrass father and my sisters." Ao Lai heard Sea Dragon King's transmission and immediately promised solemnly. At this time, he had already used Roaming Dragon and Roaring Dragon 3 times. Feeling that Night Sorrow was almost exhausted, he immediately took out the trident that Sea Dragon King gave him from his spatial artifact. Be careful, this is Sea Dragon King's divine weapon when he was young, Sea Emperor's Trident. It's the top existence among Sky's supreme level divine weapons. Also, we can't lose this bet. If it really doesn't work, use the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. Even if we're exposed, we can't lose Su Lei. Seeing Ao Lai take out Sea Emperor's Trident, Tian and I immediately reminded him. "Don't worry, no matter what, I will win this battle." Night Sorrow, who was floating in the air, held the golden heavenly halberd and transmitted his voice to Tian and I. He continued to transmit his voice to Su Lei and comforted him, "This matter started because of me, I won't push you into the fire pit. I believe in you." Su Lei replied, and then transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, telling him a chant, "This is the Yujia family's forbidden flame attack, Nirvana Heart Fire. When used, it can burn the opponent's soul. You have the Phoenix bloodline, so you should be able to use it." "Thank you." A thought flashed through Night Sorrow's mind, and he comprehended the secret art that Su Lei had taught him. He thought to himself, this Nirvana Heart Fire is indeed not simple. If used successfully, Ao Lai's soul will definitely be burned. However, the time needed to condense it is too long. It can only be brewed in about 10 breaths. That's right. I can wait until he swallows a pill to use it. Su Lei should have the same intention. What? Seeing this prince's trident, you're so scared that you're stunned. Are you ready to surrender? Seeing that Night Sorrow was a little distracted, Ao Lai, who was holding Sea Emperor's trident, mocked him coldly. "I'm thinking about how to deal with your 3 sisters after winning." Facing Ao Lai's provocation, Night Sorrow replied with a fake smile. "Bastard. My sisters are not people that a lowly ant like you can insult." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ao Lai was instantly enraged. He directly activated Sea Emperor's trident and slashed towards Night Sorrow. When Ao Lai used the trident, the spectators immediately exclaimed. This was because the trident was actually the attack left behind by the Sea Dragon King. This was completely shameless from start to finish. Chapter 3203. Sea Dragon King, you actually poured your own attack into the Sea Emperor's trident. This has already seriously affected the fairness of the battle, isn't it a little too much? Seeing that Ao Lai's trident was an attack from the Sea Dragon King, Tian and I immediately questioned in a bad mood. Sea Dragon King sneered and said, "They are not sparring, but a battle of life and death without talking about the rules. Everything they do is reasonable. If you want to blame someone, blamed this night demon for not being prepared enough. Sea Dragon King's words were extremely cold. Tian and I almost exploded, but when he thought about the sea-calming divine iron that he was after, he barely suppressed his anger. He sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, directly used the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. There's no need to worry. I'm afraid the Supreme Dragon subduing technique won't be able to block this attack. But I have other methods that can block it. Night Sorrow replied to Tian and I and began to think about whether to use the ancient coffin or Yan's calligraphy. After thinking for a moment, he finally took out Yan's calligraphy. He blocked Ao Lai's attack. He thought to himself, if Senior Yan's calligraphy can't block it, I can only use the ancient coffin. Ha ha ha. He actually took out a small calligraphy to block my father's attack. That's simply wishful thinking. Seeing that Night Sorrow actually took out a calligraphy to block the Sea Dragon King's attack, Ao Lai couldn't help but laugh out loud, mocking Night Sorrow for overestimating himself. What do you know? Facing this attack, Night Sorrow was filled with anticipation. He knew that something left behind by an expert of the extreme realm was definitely not simple. This was where the dignity of a top expert lay. Boom! Then, under everyone's focused gazes, the Sea Dragon King's attack accurately struck Yan's calligraphy. After the collision, the Sea Dragon King's attack instantly turned into nothingness. The calligraphy was still intact, but the fluorescent light on it dimmed a little. Obviously, this calligraphy should not be able to withstand more than a few attacks of this level. Even so, everyone watching the battle was still surprised. They did not know what was going on with the calligraphy in Night Sorrow's hands. Why would such an attack erupt? Ha ha ha. Good. That's great. Seeing Night Sorrow block the Sea Dragon King's attack with the calligraphy, Yunyi waved his fist excitedly. He did not expect that the copybook he gave to Night Sorrow would have such an effect. He was pleasantly surprised. What an unexpected surprise. I didn't expect the copybook to be so useful. Xian Mian, who was beside him, also sighed. After all, he had also studied the copybook back then, but he had not been able to find anything. Tian and I, who was sitting at the top, looked at Sea Dragon King and said sarcastically, "Looks like Brother Dragon King is still gentlemanly and deliberately showed mercy. Otherwise, with Night Demon's ability, how could he block your attack?" Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King glanced at the heaven-defying bead but didn't say anything. He sent a message to Ao Lai with an annoyed expression, "You useless thing, hurry up and kill him. This Emperor's trident is not as simple as a single strike." As the person involved, Ao Lai was stunned. He never expected that the Sea Dragon King's attack would be blocked. His confidence took a huge hit. Hearing the Sea Dragon King's words, he suddenly woke up from his dream and said, "Yes, father." Then, he waved the trident and fought with Night Sorrow. The attacks from the Sea King's trident were not as terrifying as the previous one, but they were all at the level of a middle heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow found it difficult to block them. However, he persevered and did not use the copybook again. He knew that with Ao Lai's strength, it would not take long for him to use this level of attack. When Ao Lai was almost exhausted, his chance would come. "You are indeed quite strong. You are not easy to deal with. However, with the help of the Sea Spirit Elixir and the Sea King's Trident, you will not have the chance to counterattack." When the divine origin energy in his body was almost exhausted, Ao Lai once again distanced himself from Night Sorrow. He floated in the void and swallowed the Sea Spirit Elixir. "You swallowed the Sea Spirit Elixir a few times in a row and I did not attack. It was to make you lower your guard. You are really careless." At this moment, Night Sorrow laughed coldly and used the seal and fix formula. He temporarily sealed Ao Lai and then used the Nirvana heart fire that Su Lei had taught him. The timing is very good. You are in a battle of life and death. Do not show any mercy. Seeing Night Sorrow use the Nirvana heart fire that he had taught him, Su Lei shouted loudly. Night Sorrow had been suppressed and she was quite nervous. Now, she was finally relieved. "Dancing lady, who was sitting beside Su Lei, laughed when she saw her performance. At this moment, Night Sorrow replied, "Don't worry, I will not give him any chance to counterattack." As his voice fell, the Sea Dragon King's expression became very ugly. In comparison, it was even worse than Ao Lai, who had been hit by the Nirvana Heart Fire. However, very quickly, Ao Lai's face became completely distorted and looked more and more ferocious. Night Sorrow and Su Lei knew that this was the Nirvana Heart Fire burning Ao Lai's soul. Victory and defeat have been decided. Life and death have been decided. Facing the distorted Ao Lai, Night Sorrow did not hesitate at all. He used the golden heavenly halberd and used the divine spear. At this moment, Ao Lai did not have the ability to block such an attack. Without any resistance, his dantian was directly shattered by Night Sorrow. Humph. Seeing Night Sorrow shatter Ao Lai's dantian, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that he slapped his own thigh. He did not expect that his playmate's scheme would not be able to defeat an Earth Sovereign in front of him. As for the three daughters of the Sea Dragon King, each of them looked more terrified than the other. They knew that this time, Ao Lai had been completely defeated. They had been defeated. The three of them looked at each other, their faces full of bitterness. How could they have expected that they would lose the battle that they had been confident of winning? Just as they were surprised, Night Sorrow attacked again and killed Ao Lai. He also took away his Sea King's trident and the remaining dozen Sea Spirit pills. After killing Ao Lai, Night Sorrow looked at Tian and I and said, "City Lord, the Night Demon did not disappoint you and successfully obtained victory. Good, very good. This is the reward you deserve." Tian and I took out an interspatial ring with a smile and threw it to Night Sorrow. Then, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Dragon King, I will reward your 3 princesses to the Night Demon. Do you have any objections?" Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that his body trembled. However, he still looked at his 3 daughters and gritted his teeth. "Go. Royal Father." After being reprimanded by the Sea Dragon King, the 3 princesses turned pale. They did not have any intention of taking a step forward. "All of you, get lost. From today onwards, you are no longer part of the Sea Dragon royal family," the Sea Dragon King said angrily. Then, he no longer looked at the 3 princesses and turned to Tian and I. "Since it is a battle, there will definitely be more than one. Let's go have a meal first and continue the battle when we return. How about it?" Chapter 3204. I don't object to the duel. But there's no need to continue the duel, right? So as not to hurt the harmony between us. Tian and I had already determined that Sea Dragon King was angry from the death of one of his sons. Just like a gambler, he wanted to win back what he had lost. He did not wish for anyone on his side to die, so he said. Hearing this, Sea Dragon King said aggressively, "Since it's a duel, of course it has to be a life and death duel. Otherwise, what's the point?" At the same time, he looked at Tian and I with anger in his eyes. Obviously, he was hinting to Tian and I that if Tian and I did not agree to the duel, he would directly flip out. And this was Sea Dragon Imperial City after all. If he was angry, the people of Sea Dragon City would definitely be at a disadvantage. Seeing Sea Dragon King like this, Tian and I sneered, "Then how many duels do you think are suitable?" 10. Sea Dragon King said without hesitation. To him, if one person on his side died, he wanted to see 10 people on the other side die. Hearing this, Tian and I transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. "How many people can you send? Remember, they must be strong." "I can send 5. If there are no rules, I can send 6. Night Sorrow replied without hesitation. "What? 5 or 6? Are you sure? This is a life and death duel. The Sea Dragon clan will definitely send out all kinds of experts." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Tian and I transmitted his voice doubtfully. "Of course I'm sure. But I hope that during the duel, it will be like Tianji's horse race. Their people will go first, and our people will go later. Night Sorrow replied. If the rules allowed it, he was prepared to fight another duel. Also, he wanted Dancing Lady and Su-lei to fight, but he needed to help them pick out weaker opponents. 2 people dying in battle was something he could not accept, so he had to make sure that nothing went wrong. All right. I'll talk to Sea Dragon King. Send out 6 from your side. As for the other candidates, I'll arrange it. After receiving Night Sorrow's confirmation, Tian and I immediately started talking with Sea Dragon King. After some discussion, Sea Dragon King finally agreed to Tian Ni's condition, allowing their people to choose opponents like the Sea Dragons. After the 2 of them finished discussing the rules, the Sea Dragon King called out the remaining 8 sons and the other 2 talented lower heavenly sovereigns. Among the Sea Dragons, the first prince and the second prince were both middle heavenly sovereigns. None of the middle heavenly sovereigns on the heaven-defying bead side were a match for them. As for the other princes, although they were also very strong, they were not necessarily much stronger than the fully armed Ao Lai. Night Sorrow and the others still had a chance to win against them. Wu Meng, you're the first to fight. After all 10 of them stepped forward, the Sea Dragon King looked at the sea dragon named Wu Meng. Yes. Your Majesty. The sea dragon named Wu Meng bowed to the Sea Dragon King before flying onto the stage. He roared arrogantly, "Who dares to fight with me? Who do you think is suitable?" After Wu Meng went on stage, Heaven Defying immediately looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Pasua, Su-lei, which one of you will go? He and the other non-royal sea dragon shouldn't be a match for you." At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at Pasua and Su-lei. According to Night Sorrow's calculations, the 2 of them had to fight, and their opponents had to be Wu Meng and the other non-royal sea dragon. If they were to fight against a royal sea dragon, the 2 of them should not be his match. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Pasua looked at Su-lei and said, "The opponents first to fight will definitely be the weakest. You are slightly stronger than me. Can I fight this round?" "Okay." Su-lei nodded and did not say much. Then, she looked at the other sea dragon who wasn't part of the royal family and examined him. As for Pasua, she said something to Heaven Defying and flew onto the stage. Is there no one else in Sea Dragon City? It's actually a female cultivator. Seeing that it was Pasua who flew up, Wu Meng sneered disdainfully. Sea Dragon City's female cultivators are enough to deal with you. Why should we send a male cultivator? Pasua replied coldly. I think you're here to die. Wu Meng roared and took out his blood-red long-handled sword, slashing at Pasua. Facing Pasua, who had a long-handled sword, he did not hesitate at all. She used one of her ultimate skills, Thousand Illusion Net, to block Wu Meng's long-handled sword. Then, she took the opportunity to use Thousand Illusion Eyes, summoning all the thousands of eyeballs in her vertical eye. She used the black hole to attack her opponent continuously. For a moment, the stage was filled with black light. You're quite capable. Wu Meng, who was facing Pasua, could clearly feel the pressure. He immediately ignited his sea dragon bloodline. When he ignited his bloodline, his aura immediately rose by a lot. It became much easier to dodge the black light of Thousand Illusion Eyes. I still have many more abilities. I'll let you see the ultimate skills exchanged from Lu Tian Academy. Pasua knew that the Thousand Illusion Eyes' continuous attacks would not hit and would consume her divine essence energy. So, she directly used the ultimate skill exchanged from Lu Tian Academy with her points. Traceless Lu Tian. This move was the cheapest ultimate skill in Lu Tian Academy, but its power was not weak at all. After Pasua used it, she immediately unleashed an earth-shattering attack on the stage. She suddenly summoned a huge sword behind Wu Meng. It slashed down silently. Amidst the exclamations of the audience, Wu Meng didn't even have time to react before he was cut in half. Pasua took the opportunity to shatter his Dantian and Divine Soul, successfully killing him. Then, she cut down Tian and I and said, City Governor, Pasua did not disappoint you. Good. There's a reward. Tian and I praised with a smile and threw out a space ring. Inside the ring, there were all kinds of resources. Thank you, city governor. After receiving the reward, Pasua smiled and flew off the stage. Then, on the Sea Dragon King's side, it was indeed the non-royal sea dragon that Knight Sorrow and the rest had guessed. After he went on the stage and introduced himself, Knight Sorrow and the rest found out that this sea dragon was called Wu Huan and was Wu Meng's brother. Su Lei, you go. Seeing Wu Huan on the stage, Knight Sorrow observed with confidence and then let Su Lei go on the stage. As soon as Su Lei went on the stage, many creatures of the Sea of Evil were stunned. They did not expect that the second person from Sea Dragon City would be a female practitioner. Seeing that Su Lei went on the stage, Wu Huan frowned and said, "You came up just in time. I'll let you go down and accompany my brother. You brothers should reunite." Facing Wu Huan's provocation, Su Lei did not show any weakness. After that, she directly attacked Wu Huan. Su Lei did not use her ultimate skill right away. She wanted to test Wu Huan's strength. In comparison, she was calmer than Pasua. Chapter 3205. Although Su Lei's attack wasn't very strong when he was testing the waters, Wu Huan still treated him seriously. After all, Wu Meng's incident was still fresh in his mind. Although he was arrogant, he was still very cautious when he fought. Seeing Wu Huan's performance, the Sea Dragon King, who was originally very irritable, calmed down. He praised, "Wu Huan's performance is not bad. Thank you for the compliment." Hearing the Sea Dragon King's praise, Wu Huan immediately replied in surprise. After that, in the battle with Su Lei, he became more and more stable. Not a single drop of water leaked out, and he faintly gained the upper hand. Does Su Lei have any tricks up her sleeve? The situation doesn't look too good. Seeing that Su Lei was still unable to turn the situation around even after using several secret techniques, the heaven-defying bead asked Yishang. He didn't want to see anyone on his side lose. After all, losing here meant death. Comic after transmigrating to AD 3000. Based on my understanding of Su Lei, she's definitely not that simple. Knight Sorrow knew that Su Lei was definitely stronger than what she was showing, so he wasn't too worried. Including Ao Lai, who had already lost 2 people, the spectators from the Sea of Evil were extremely depressed. Seeing that Su Lei was being suppressed by Wu Huan, they instantly became excited and kept cheering for Wu Huan. This made Wu Huan braver as he fought. However, thinking of the Sea Dragon King's praise, he didn't advance rashly. He had been steadily organizing his attacks. It's time for you to die. In this state, the battle went on for about an hour. Su Lei, who had been at a disadvantage, suddenly roared and ignited Yujia's bloodline. She used Yujia's ultimate technique and fiercely attacked Wu Huan. Su Lei, who had transformed into Yujia, this attack was at least 20 times stronger than her previous attack. Wu Huan, who had been steadily attacking and defending, couldn't react at all. When facing this attack, he didn't even organize the defense that he should have and was instantly killed by Su Lei's attack. Su Lei, who had killed Wu Huan, returned to her human form. The Yujia bloodline in her body wasn't very strong. Therefore, when she used her bloodline's ultimate technique, she suffered a huge backlash. After the battle ended, Knight Sorrow arranged for her to sit on the seat beside him. She controlled the rhythm so well, as expected of someone from Lu Tian Academy. Well fought, well fought. Seeing Su Lei's victory, Tian and I took out a ring with a smile and threw it towards her. Then, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Brother Dragon King, I wonder who will be fighting next." The Sea Dragon King's gaze was on Su Lei. Only after being called did he come back to his senses and say, "We will send Ao Xian. Let's invite the 8th prince." Tian and I knew that Ao Xian was the 8th prince of the Sea Dragon King, so he said, "All right. 8th, you 8th. The Sea Dragon King immediately looked at the 8th prince Ao Xian and said, "Yes, father." Ao's battle Ao fighting the deaths of Ao Lai, Wu Meng, and Wu Huan not only didn't make him afraid, but also made him very excited. SSS battle his belligerent and fearless. Who wants to challenge me? Flying above the arena, Ao Xian looked at the heaven-defying camp and roared. Yi yes yi Ao yes ss yi. Ao Xian challenged. Yin Yi looked at Night Sorrow and said. Hearing this, Yi Shang said with a smile, Brother Yin Yi, it's better that you take the field. You should have no problem suppressing Ao Xian with your middle heavenly supreme strength. It's not a problem for me to suppress him. But the problem is, who's going to fight against the sea dragons in the future? Yin Yi asked in confusion. The strength of sea dragon side definitely has the advantage. We can only win one round at a time. Brother Yin Yi, you should fight. Leave the rest of the battle to me and the experts the city lord invited. Night Sorrow explained to Yin Yi. Among the experts invited by the heaven-defying bead, there were 3 who were stronger than Yin Yi and could be considered experts. Night Sorrow felt that it was reasonable for Yin Yi to fight now. As for him, he would wait until Yin Yi took the stage to fight. All right. Since you're so confident, I'll go first. Ao Xian challenged. Yin Yi didn't want Sea Dragon City to lose face, so he flew up to the stage. You're a middle heavenly supreme, but you're so timid that you don't dare to fight. What a joke. Ao Xian mocked after sizing up Yin Yi. He wasn't afraid of Yin Yi, who was a middle heavenly sovereign. We're arguing about who's the weakest. You're the weakest. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Yin Yi replied tit for tat. Even now, he still felt that he should fight after Night Sorrow. He didn't care about the lives of the people Tian and I had hired. No problem. But the problem is, who's the stronger one? The weak one needs to die. Facing Yin Yi, Ao Xian roared and directly transformed into Long Xing to attack him. Freeze. Ice. Seal. Yin Yi immediately used the 100 words mantra against Ao Xian's attack. Compared to Night Sorrow, he had a deeper understanding of the 100 words mantra. What he displayed was a combination of character formulas. Ao Xian's speed slowed down a lot after he used the 3-word mantra. Ao Xian thought that the speed was only temporary. He didn't expect that he would be slowed down for the rest of the battle. This made him very uncomfortable. In this state of being slowed down, Ao Xian was constantly in a suppressed state when fighting with Yin Yi. Even when they were fighting with their lives on the line, Ao Xian didn't explode. In the end, Yin Yi successfully killed him. The people from Sea Dragon City actually won again. Including Ao Lai, 4 people from the Sea of Evil have been killed. How can we accept this? Sea Dragon King wasn't the only one who was gloomy when he saw Ao Xian killed. Everyone from the Sea of Evil was enraged. None of them didn't feel embarrassed. Ever since Sea Dragon City and the Sea of Evil had established diplomatic relations, the Sea of Evil had always taken the initiative. They had never been abused like this before. Sea Dragon King immediately looked at one of the princes and said, "Second brother, you'll fight. I don't think anyone on their side is stronger than you. Go and kill your opponent. Boost our morale." "Yes, father. I won't let you down." Second Prince Ao Xiong responded and immediately flew onto the stage. Tian Ni's expression changed when he saw that it was Second Prince Ao Xiong. He was clear that no one on his side was Ao Xiong's opponent. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This Ao Xiong is very strong. No one on our side can fight against him. What should we do?" "I have a good plan to defeat this Ao Xiong." "That's good," Yi Shang said unhurriedly. Chapter 3206. Oh. What good plan do you have? Don't tell me you want to use your own foundation to fight against him. This won't do. If the treasure is too precious, it will cause the Sea Dragon King to covet it. Hearing this, Tian and I immediately asked. "It's not that I want to fight. Didn't the Sea Dragon King lose his 3 daughters to us? Why don't we just send one of them to fight Ao Cheong? Whether he lives or dies, it has nothing to do with us. Night Sorrow explained and then continued, as for the other princes, they will also receive the same treatment. Although they are strong, it is a life and death battle with their own brothers. Even if they win, the Sea Dragon King will not have any face. He knew that both sides had already reached the climax of the battle. Saying anything now would be useless. After all, because of this battle, both sides had cancelled the meal segment. Good. This method is very good. It can prevent us from dying for no reason and also attack the Sea Dragon King. However, he won't explode because of this, right? When Tian and I heard Night Sorrow's tactic, he immediately slapped the table and praised. At the same time, he was worried that the Sea Dragon King would explode. As for pity, it did not exist at all. Although this method was a bit cruel, the Sea Dragon King asked for it. If he did not have ideas about Su Lei and forced the Sea Dragon City to accept the 10 life and death challenges, things would not have turned out like this. Which of the 3 of you is the weakest? Go up and fight with Ao Cheong. After pondering for a while, Tian and I felt that he could not let his subordinates die, so he looked at the 3 princesses and said. At this moment, he had the upper hand, which made him secretly happy. He had come to the Sea of Evil many times, but this was the first time he had completely suppressed the Sea Dragon King. Although this feeling could not be compared to snatching the sea-calming divine iron, it was still very satisfying. And this sentence was like a judgment. It made the 3 daughters of the Sea Dragon King, Ou, Ao Shue and Ao Yun, all stunned. Eldest Princess Ao Yu said angrily, "What does the battle between you 3 have to do with the 3 of us? We are not going." Hearing this, Tian and I sneered, "The 3 of you are our servants and have no right to refute. Whoever is the weakest will go up. None of you can escape. The other 2 opponents are the first prince and the 3rd prince. I'm going to send the strongest of you to fight the 3rd prince. If I'm still killed, then there's nothing I can do. You devil. We won't comply." Hearing this, eldest Princess Ao Yu instantly roared furiously. She couldn't accept the fact that they had to face her brother. Even though the relationship between them and those so-called princes could not be considered harmonious. The real devil is the Sea Dragon King. If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have lost to me, and we wouldn't have participated in this life and death battle. If you want to blame someone, blame him. Tian and I said coldly. Then he saw that the 3 of them didn't want to go on stage. He pointed at Ao Yun and said, "It's you. Go up the stage and fight with Ao Cheong. Remember your place." "I'm not going." When Ao Yun saw Heaven Defying pointing at him, he immediately refused with a roar. Hearing this, Heaven Defying smiled coldly and said, "Go or not, it's not up to you at all. Don't forget the heavenly Tao contract between us. Either way, we're going to die. Kill me if you can." When Ao Yun heard this, she still didn't have the intention to go on stage. She even raised her head and waited for Tian and I to kill her. At this moment, Tian and I didn't care about Ao Yun at all. Instead, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Dragon King, the people we send out won't go on stage. How do you think this matter should be resolved?" He was kicking the problem to the Sea Dragon King. No matter how the Sea Dragon King handled it, it would be beneficial to his side. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King, who already understood that Tian and I was going to send his 3 princesses on stage. His expression immediately became even gloomier. After being silent for a while, he looked at Ao Yun and said, "For this round, I'll count it as your Sea Dragon City forfeiting. Ao Cheong, come down." In the end, he still didn't ruthlessly order his 3 daughters to go on stage and personally watch his children kill each other. Furthermore, he didn't give Tian and I any chance to refute. "All right. This way, it's fine too. My Sea Dragon City has lost this round." When Tian and I got such an answer, he was completely emotionless. He also didn't wish to drive the Sea Dragon King completely crazy. That way, they might very well have to fight here. It was disadvantageous to the brewing matter. As for Night Sorrow and the rest, they also felt that this was fine. After all, they weren't particularly cruel people. They had no choice but to make such a choice. It wasn't bad to use the three of them as a token to avoid death. As for the spectators of the Sea of Evil, they didn't dare to express any opinions at all. They didn't dare to go against the Sea Dragon King's wishes at all. Seeing that no one objected, the Sea Dragon King looked at Tian and I and said, "Since this round is so clear, I'll send Aoshin for the next round." Aoshin was none other than his seventh prince. Father. Hearing his name, Aoshin bowed to the Sea Dragon King and flew onto the stage. Looking at the people of Sea Dragon City, he said, "If you have the guts, come out and fight like a man. Using women to save your life, what kind of ability is that? I'll fight with him." This time, without waiting for Tian and I to speak, Night Sorrow directly said, "Are you confident?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tian and I asked with concern. "Yes. According to my observation, he shouldn't be much stronger than Ao Lai. I have the copybook with me, so I have a chance to defeat him." Night Sorrow, who was observing Aoshin with the Mirage Dragon's eye, replied with certainty. He had the copybook and the strange coffin. It was impossible for him to lose. "Then I won't waste time on pleasantries. Be careful," Tian and I said to Night Sorrow. "Okay," Yi Shang said and waved to the crowd. He then flew to the arena and said to Aoshin, "I'll fight you." "It's you." Aoshin, who was staring at Night Sorrow, flew into a rage when he realized that it was him on the stage. "Today, I will avenge Ao Lai. Prepare to die." Without giving Night Sorrow a chance to talk back, Aoshin summoned his battle pet right away. It was a huge wolf with red fur. The huge wolf pounced on Night Sorrow at once. It was very fast. In the old days, Night Sorrow would have fallen for the attack. However, at the moment, Night Sorrow used the 9 steps of the Defiant and dodged the attack with ease. However, the huge wolf's attacks were violent. Even though Night Sorrow kept dodging, the wolf would not give up. While the huge wolf was attacking, Aoshin had been preparing for an attack. It had been preparing for a long time. It had been over a dozen breaths, but it had yet to launch an attack. Night Sorrow was surprised and alarmed at the same time. Yin Yi reminded him, "Be careful. He is summoning a powerful demon. If the summoning succeeds, you won't have to deal with it." Chapter 3207. "Well, I'll interrupt his summoning then." Night Sorrow replied as he dodged the wolf's attack with the 9 steps of the Defiant. He used the combination of the ice, seal, and fix character arts. He had learned that from Yunye's battles. He had just learned it, but he was able to use it smoothly. He immediately interrupted Aoshin's summoning. "Bastard. I was so close to summoning the Abyssal Shadow Demon." Aoshin's face was filled with resentment and regret after his summoning was interrupted. The Abyssal Shadow Demon that he had summoned was very powerful. It was at least as powerful as an upper heavenly supreme. If the summoning was successful, it would be of great help. "I think you should rely on your own strength. You'll only harm yourself if you rely on external forces." After interrupting Aoshin's summoning, Night Sorrow smirked as he fought against the wolf. When the wolf was first summoned, its attacks were ferocious. However, after a while, Night Sorrow realized that the wolf only knew the 3 moves. The subsequent attacks were all repeated. After familiarizing himself with the wolf's moves, he could easily use the golden heavenly halberd to fight against the wolf. "I was going to ask the Abyssal Shadow Demon to take you to the deep abyss for endless torture. Since the summoning failed, I'll send you to your death." After making sure that the Abyssal Shadow Demon could not be summoned, Aoshin roared and took out his relic. It was a long, pitch-black blade with a long handle. With the blade in hand, Aoshin attacked Night Sorrow together with the wolf. I didn't expect that you, a member of the sea dragon royal family, would attack together with your battle pet instead of focusing on yourself. It's really an eye-opener for me. After Aoshin began to attack, Night Sorrow realized that Aoshin was assisting the wolf. All the attacks were coordinated with the wolf. This was the first time that he had seen such a situation. Don't be surprised. What do you know? Aoshin replied with disdain after being mocked by Night Sorrow. Then, he continued to attack together with the wolf. With the addition of Aoshin, Night Sorrow was under a lot of pressure. At this moment, he combined the 9 steps of the Defiant and the Qingxian spear technique. The combination of the two skills worked wonders. Soon, Aoshin and the wolf were suppressed. If it weren't for the fact that Aoshin and the wolf were telepathic, Night Sorrow would have defeated them. The wolf is still the wolf? At this point in the battle, Yi Shang was even more surprised. He had thought that Aoshin would use his own ultimate skill sooner or later. But that was not the case. Even though Night Sorrow was overpowered, Aoshin was still the wolf. At this moment, Night Sorrow activated the Sea Serpent's Eye and observed the situation on the stage. The Sea Dragon King, the Dragon King, was not surprised dragon. He guessed that Aoshin must have fought like this on a daily basis. Also, Aoshin must have some other tricks up his sleeve. Therefore, during the battle, he secretly took out the copybook, just in case. Let's see how long you can jump around. Aoshin's eyes grew colder and colder as the battle continued. He must be plotting something. Night Sorrow had been suppressing Aoshin and the wolf, but he couldn't find a way to kill them. He noticed that Aoshin's eyes were getting colder and colder. He could feel that Aoshin was plotting something. Under such circumstances, the battle continued for a few dozen breaths. Aoshin's eyes were sharp. I have accumulated enough fighting spirit. Let's transform. Okay. The wolf replied. Then, she let out a long howl and transformed into her human form. Aoshin also transformed from his dragon form to his human form. Night Sorrow looked at the wolf and saw that it was a woman in human form. After the transformation, her aura had broken through the peak lower heavenly sovereign level and reached the middle heavenly sovereign level. Obviously, she was much more powerful than Aoshin. Let me tell you. She is not only my war pet, but she is also my partner. Let's see how you are going to fight against a middle heavenly sovereign. Aoshin roared with a smile after both of them had transformed into their human forms. The relationship between the two of you is strange. Night Sorrow said in surprise when he realized that the wolf was Aoshin's partner. At the same time, he let down his guard. The wolf had used the fighting spirit to temporarily reach the middle heavenly sovereign level. Although it wasn't easy to deal with, it wasn't impossible. Strange or not, it's not up to you to decide. The giant wolf that had transformed into a human roared coldly and arrogantly. Then, unexpectedly, it merged with Aoshin and began to perform its ultimate skill. Sky-shaking wolf soul. It blasted toward Night Sorrow. This skill was an extremely powerful spiritual attack, and it didn't require any guidance. When it was unleashed, it was as terrifying as a sudden clap of thunder. Seems like I was right to take out the copybook in advance. Night Sorrow used the copybook to block the attack, and at the same time, used the soft dragon roar. He was more comfortable with this skill and could use it at will. This was the most appropriate time to use it. He knew that Aoshin and the wolf combined to unleash this skill. It was beyond his level, and he couldn't withstand it. Bam! With the help of the copybook, Night Sorrow barely withstood the attack. At the same time, he realized that Aoshin and the wolf in human form had separated. After unleashing the spiritual attack, the aura on their bodies had weakened by almost 50%. You've been preparing for such a long time to unleash a spiritual attack, and now you're out of energy? Night Sorrow was relieved when he realized that Aoshin and the wolf's aura had weakened significantly. However, he didn't let his guard down and continued to fight Aoshin and the wolf carefully. In the end, as expected, he killed the two of them. Great! Night Sorrow, well done. When Night Sorrow killed Ao Shen, Yun Yi, and the rest who were worried about him immediately cheered. Tian Ni's face was also filled with joy. The Sea Dragon King's expression wasn't as pleasant. He didn't give Night Sorrow and the rest any time to exchange pleasantries. He said coldly, "Next round." This time, he sent out his own sixth prince. According to Night Sorrow's arrangement, the fourth, fifth, and sixth princes all needed to be joined by Tian Ni's mercenaries. Therefore, this had nothing to do with Night Sorrow and the rest. The remaining first and third princes were handed over to the other two princesses. Without the pressure of battle, Night Sorrow turned his attention to other directions. He sent a telepathic message to Little 7 and the rest and asked, "Have you guys sensed where Little 8 is?" "I sensed it the moment I entered the Sea Dragon Imperial City. Little 8 is in the center of the city, in a very conspicuous place. It's not easy to get it." Little 9 replied after Night Sorrow spoke. "A conspicuous place? Where is it?" Night Sorrow asked. Chapter 3208. In the most central square of Sea Dragon City. It is constantly absorbing the dark aura of the Sea of Evil and has completely turned dark. If you want it to regain its original nature, you will need to spend a lot of energy. Little 9 continued to transmit his voice. He felt that if he wanted to completely turn it dark, or rather, purify the 8th level of the demon realm, it would take a long time. After all, the 8th level now was 10 times darker than when he was at that time. It's not a problem for him to be invaded by the dark aura. When Night Sorrow heard Little 9's words, he was not too worried. He felt that the biggest problem was the location of the 8th level. It was a little awkward. As long as they made a move, they would definitely alarm a large number of sea dragons. After pondering for a moment, he said, "We can only wait for Senior Heaven Defying to make a move and cause a big commotion. Only then can we find an opportunity to make a move. It's like this. If you want to take it away, you still need a bit of luck." Little 9 continued. Little 5 and Little 7 had been helping Night Sorrow think of a way. They all knew how much risk they had to take back the 8th level. Boom. Good. 6th Prince, good kill. Just as Night Sorrow and Little 9 were communicating for a short while, the battle on the stage had already ended. 6th Prince Ao Lin had already killed an expert hired by Heaven Defying. In less than 10 breaths of time. A quick victory allowed the creatures of the Sea of Evil to be completely unleashed. This was the victory they had been waiting for. However, the Sea Dragon King, who had lost a few princes, did not seem happy at all. Between his brows, there was still resentment and coldness. After the 5th prince went up, he looked at Su Lei and then looked at Night Sorrow. There was a special meaning in his gaze. This Sea Dragon King probably has his eyes on Su Lei and little brother Night. Sitting beside the Sea Dragon King, Heaven Defying followed his gaze. After seeing Su Lei and Night Sorrow, he immediately started to worry for them. He transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, "This Sea Dragon King has already locked onto you. From now on, before we make a move, don't leave my side." I've already noticed his gaze. If I'm not wrong, he will soon make a move on me and Su Lei. Night Sorrow replied telepathically. He could clearly feel the Sea Dragon King's malice. When the matter of the martial arts arena is over, we will properly discuss the matter of making a move. No matter how anxious this Sea Dragon King is, he will arrange a place for us to rest. He won't attack immediately. Tian and I continued. According to his judgment, the Sea Dragon King would arrange for everyone to take a short break after the battle. At that time, it was very likely that he would completely turn hostile. The Sea Dragon King should have the intention to attack us. The place he arranged must not be entered. Otherwise, I will definitely be trapped in the movement technique. Night Sorrow immediately said after hearing Tian Ni's words. If they rashly entered the place arranged by the Sea Dragon King, they would definitely die miserably. There were definitely many array formations in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. Don't worry. The Sea Dragon King will definitely not arrange a powerful formation to trap us. That would expose him. If I revert back to my original form, I can break through ordinary formations. Hearing Night Sorrow's worry, Tian and I said and then continued, we are going to enter the array he arranged, then break out of the array and catch him off guard. Makes sense. It's a good idea to take a risk. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly felt that this was not bad. Then he transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer. How are you guys recovering? If Senior Tian and I can't break the array, you guys will need to take action. We will do our best. But as long as it is a Heavenly Supreme level array formation, we should be able to break it. After deciphering Yan's calligraphy, our strength is not small. The restriction-breaking hammer's male hammer immediately replied. That's good. Night Sorrow did not say much. He knew that the restriction-breaking hammer was very strict and would not exaggerate. After that, he began to watch the next battle. This battle lasted a lot longer than the previous one. It lasted for around an hour. The Sea Dragon's fifth prince successfully defeated the Sea Dragon City's cultivators. In the following battles, the Sea Dragon's fourth prince also successfully won. As for the last two battles, because it was a civil war of the Sea Dragon Imperial family, they did not fight at all. After the competition ended, the Sea Dragon King, who had won 3 rounds in a row, had a slightly warmer expression. He looked at Tian and I and said, let's go eat first, then I'll send someone to bring you guys to rest. Wait for the next day, we'll hold the trading meeting. I hope that the things that the city lord brought this time are sincere enough. Of course we have sincerity. Tian and I looked at the Sea Dragon King. He knew that the other party had ulterior motives. He would probably do something to the food. He transmitted his voice to remind everyone to pay attention. Therefore, during the banquet, the people of Sea Dragon City basically did not eat anything. This attracted the disdain of the Sea Dragon Imperial family's princes. Night Sorrow and the rest did not care about their ridicule. Then, the Sea Dragon King arranged for people to bring Tian and I, Night Sorrow, and the rest away and arranged for them to stay in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. After arriving at the courtyard arranged by the Sea Dragon King, Tian and I observed the courtyard to see if there was an array formation. Night Sorrow also observed and realized that there were indeed array patterns in the courtyard. It was just that they were not activated at this time. He transmitted his voice to Tian and I feel that since the Sea Dragon King arranged for us to be together, he might not make a move immediately. He might want to separate you from us tomorrow and then make a move. And, this is his territory after all, he still wants stability. Tian and I thought for a while and said, do you think we should make a move today? Of course. The Sea Dragon King in front of us should not know what our goal is, so he can still hold back for now. We must take advantage of the fact that he has not reacted and make a move. He should not expect that we would take the initiative to attack in his territory. Night Sorrow analyzed. This was what he saw from the arrangements of the Sea Dragon King. That's good. We will rest for a while and make a move. Before I make a move on the Sea Calming Divine Iron, I will release all the cultivators imprisoned in Sea Dragon Imperial City. Once they are released, it will definitely cause chaos. When the Sea Dragon Imperial City is in chaos, I will make a move on the Sea Calming Divine Iron. When the time comes, make a move on the target and then escape. Tian and I instructed and began to make preparations. Night Sorrow began to explain the tactics to Swaying Lady, Su Lei, and the rest. About 6 hours after arriving at the residence, Tian and I transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, get ready, I'm going. After saying that, he avoided the eyes of the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace and sneaked out of the residence alone. He headed to the cage where the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace imprisoned the cultivators from the outside world. Night Sorrow and the rest were prepared to make a move and wait for the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace to become chaotic. Chapter 3209. Not long after, the sounds of battle came from afar. Let's begin. Hearing the sounds of battle in the distance, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice to his friends. At this moment, Yunyi suddenly said, "The array formation where we are seems to have been activated." "Oh. That's true. Everyone, don't panic. I'll think of a way to break the array formation." Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and saw that it was true. He immediately summoned the restriction-breaking hammer. He said, "Quickly break the array. If we're slow, the cultivators of the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace might rush over. If we're intercepted by them, it will be even more difficult for us to attack the 8th level. Don't worry, this array formation is not difficult to break. It won't be difficult for us." After the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer finished speaking, it cooperated with the female hammer and began to break the array. After being tempered by Yan's calligraphy, their abilities had been greatly improved. In about 10 breaths of time, they successfully broke the array formation. At this moment, Night Sorrow had already sensed a large group of cultivators approaching. "Hence," he said, "everyone, follow me." Heaven-defying left alone. Most of the cultivators of Sea Dragon City were in front of him. Night Sorrow felt that if they stayed, they would definitely encounter a fierce battle, so he brought everyone away. After leaving the residence that the Sea Dragon King had arranged for everyone, Night Sorrow arranged for Centurion Hei Chi and the others to support Heaven-defying and those cultivators who had been imprisoned for many years. He was clear that the Heaven-defying bead had an advantage by releasing those people alone. But in a large-scale battle, it would definitely be difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. After Hei Chi and the others went to support, Night Sorrow summoned the puppet Sea Dragon Ao Shui and transformed into his appearance. He stored Yunyi, Whirling Woman and the others into the spatial grotto heaven, broke through the various restrictions of the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace and rushed towards the square in the center of the city. This Sea Dragon Ao Shui was the illegitimate son of the Sea Dragon King. Everyone in the Sea of Evil knew that. His reputation was quite bad. On the way to the square, they encountered many cultivators and immediately avoided them. While they were rushing, shocking flames erupted in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. Even the roar of the Sea Dragon King could be heard. Clearly, the battle was getting more and more intense. Senior Heaven-defying situation doesn't seem good. The Sea Dragon King's voice came out so quickly. If he was intercepted, how could he obtain the sea-calming divine iron? Night Sorrow, who was looking back at the Sea Dragon Palace, immediately felt worried when he heard the Sea Dragon King's voice. At this moment, Little 7 said, "I can sense that the cultivator guarding Little 8 is being transferred to the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. It's the best opportunity for us to go now. Hurry up." "All right." Night Sorrow responded and quickly headed to the 8th floor. To him, this was his first goal. He was prepared to obtain it and then consider whether or not to return to the palace and help the Heaven-defying bead. "We'll be there soon. Little 8's location is 10,000 miles ahead of us. Our problem right now is that there are some cultivators cultivating inside." After getting closer, Little 9 reminded him. "Don't worry, I have a way." Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and roared from 10,000 miles away, "Ao Shui is here. If you don't want to live, then continue to cultivate in the demonic pagoda." Then, as he approached, he continued to shout, "If you want to live, then give me the cultivation pagoda." Many people who were cultivating on the 8th floor of the Eternal Realm were immediately enraged when they heard this. But after waking up, these people immediately felt unlucky when they realized that the person who came was Ao Shui. Those who were weak basically scattered like birds and beasts. Although a few of them were strong, they still chose to leave. They mainly didn't want to offend the Sea Dragon King because of Ao Shui. Although he was an illegitimate child, they couldn't kill him at will. After leaving this place, they all noticed that the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace was already in a state of fire and smoke. They immediately went to see what was going on. Night Sorrow brought his men to the entrance of the 8th floor. At this moment, some of the guards who weren't transferred to the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace walked out one after another. Night Sorrow, who was originally prepared to make a move, realized that there were more than 20 Sky Supreme cultivators present. He immediately gave up on using forceful means to snatch it. He said, "I want to go in and cultivate." "Lord Aoshui, you can cultivate, but you have to pay the corresponding fee. This is the rule set by the Sea Dragon King." At this moment, the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace was in chaos. If it were anyone else who came to cultivate, they would have chased them away long ago. But they were still polite to Aoshui. They also knew that this jinx was not to be trifled with. "Let's go in first." These guards had no intention of stopping them. Little Seven immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "All right. Let's go in and think of a way." Night Sorrow replied and casually took out some resources and threw them over. He said arrogantly, "Take the resources and get lost immediately. Don't block the way." Although many guards were unhappy with such an arrogant attitude, they still made way. After all, the impression Aoshui left on them was too bad. He was a completely unreasonable pervert. They didn't want to provoke such trash at all. Aoshui's identity is really useful. After successfully entering the pagoda, Yun Yi, who was released, immediately laughed. He was a little emotional. He felt that if the heaven-defying bead could find such a clone, that would be great. However, at this moment, it was obviously not the time to talk about that matter, so he didn't speak. "Little 5, Little 7, Little 9, what should I do to collect him?" Night Sorrow, who had released everyone, asked. Little 8, who was in front of him, was in a very strange state. He wasn't sure if he should directly purify him or what. Hearing this, Little 7 said, "It should be like what Little 9 did back then. First, defeat him, then purify him with the power of merit." However, Little 8 is now at the level of a heavenly sovereign. He shouldn't be easy to deal with. "You don't have to worry about that. I'm very curious. You all can sense him from so far away. Why hasn't he reacted at all when we have already entered?" Night Sorrow said, somewhat puzzled. "Because I'm waiting for you all to fall into my trap." Night Sorrow had just finished speaking when a voice full of murderous intent came from the 8th level. Even just by listening to the voice, everyone could feel a great evil aura rushing toward them. "Have you fallen to such a state?" Little 7, who heard the voice, immediately rebuked angrily. "Fallen? What do you mean by fallen? I only know that at this moment, all of you combined are no match for me. Just wait to be absorbed by me as nourishment." The 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower said with a demonic tone. Hearing this, Little 5 suddenly said, his voice is a little strange. "This isn't just a matter of demonization. It seems like his soul has been corroded by someone. Who cares about him? Purify him directly first." Little 7, who was infuriated, said angrily. "You want to purify me? Let's see if you have the ability to do so." Hearing this, Little 8 laughed maliciously. He was obviously very confident in himself. Chapter 32:10. No matter what situation he is in, let's purify him first. Little 8's reaction made Little 7 a little unhappy. He said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and said, "Okay. Let's try to hurry. Then we might be able to support Senior Heaven Defying and the others. How should we cooperate?" At this moment, Dancing Woman and the others asked with some doubts. They were in the tower and didn't know what to do. When the battle starts, those guards will definitely appear. You guys are in charge of dealing with those guards. Leave the rest to me, Little 5, Little 7, and Little 9. Night Sorrow looked at Dancing Woman and said. At this moment, Little 8 had already started to make trouble. He summoned some of the cultivators' souls that he had devoured before and appeared in front of everyone. Let's get rid of these things first. The guards hadn't come in yet. Clearly, Little 8 hadn't informed them. He might have had unparalleled confidence in himself and wanted to fight against Night Sorrow and the others. But it was obvious that he had overestimated himself. The souls or wandering souls that were summoned didn't have much combat strength at all. They were quickly killed by Night Sorrow and the others. At this moment, Little 8 realized that his judgment was wrong. He had underestimated his opponent. So he sent a voice transmission to the guards and asked them to come and support him. Although they were a little afraid of Ao Shui, they still rushed over together. Compared to Ao Shui making things difficult for them, they were more afraid of losing things and angering the Sea Dragon King. After all, offending him meant certain death. When the guards arrived, Yun Yi, Dancing Woman, and the others immediately started fighting with them. As for Night Sorrow, he chose to leave them and prepared to find a hidden area to purify Little 8. There were too many people in front of him. It wasn't appropriate for him to use the power of merit. Regarding this, the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower didn't stop him. Instead, it helped him teleport to a separate space. This is the Nirvana space. After teleporting to a separate space, Little 7 immediately reminded, this Nirvana space has the ability to refine cultivators' souls. Night Sorrow, be careful not to be refined. I will be careful. Night Sorrow replied and summoned the Dragon of Merit. However, the Dragon of Virtue had been concealed. It looked like a black dragon. If one didn't sense it carefully, they wouldn't realize that it was actually an extremely sacred energy. Is this all you've got? I think you should protect yourselves first. At this moment, the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower suddenly sneered. Then, countless evil spirits were summoned from the Nirvana space. These were the bodies of cultivators whose souls had perished and turned into walking corpses. After no less than 100 evil spirits appeared, they all rushed towards Night Sorrow. Facing these evil spirits, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and immediately charged over with the golden heavenly halberd. After fighting for a while, he felt that the pressure of the battle was too great, so he separated from the puppet. He used his true body and the puppet to fight together. Relying on the 9 steps of the Defiant of the Heavens, he quickly destroyed these evil spirits that had hard bodies but were not very fast. Annihilation Divine Soul. After Night Sorrow and the puppet Aoshui destroyed the evil spirit in front of them. The 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower didn't give them a chance to breathe at all and immediately used the Nirvana Space's ultimate technique. The Annihilation Divine Soul was attacking their souls. The puppet Aoshui's soul had already been destroyed, so it wasn't affected at all by such an attack. And when Night Sorrow was attacked, he took out the copybook to block it. This caused the copybook to dim completely, but he wasn't hurt at all. Then, Night Sorrow began to use the Dragon of Merit that he summoned to purify the dark aura of the 8th level. What kind of energy is this? The 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower that was being purified immediately realized that something was wrong. The reason for that was because the power of virtue was simply too powerful in purifying him. He was simply unable to resist at all. This was completely different from what he had expected. He's being suppressed. I didn't expect that once the power of merit is used, Little 8 wouldn't be able to resist at all. Seeing that Night Sorrow was purifying Little 8 with the power of merit, Little 7 was instantly overjoyed. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. It's too early for you to be happy. At this moment, a cold voice sounded again. The blackened Little 8 sneered, I won't be subdued so easily. Then, he summoned a doppelganger from the Annihilation Divine Space. The doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King. After being summoned, the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King was stunned at first. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and the rest and immediately understood what was going on. He sneered, you really have guts. You dare to covet my things? Go to hell. After roaring, he launched an attack at Sorrow. The strength of the Sea Dragon King was at the peak of the upper heavenly sovereign level and was about to enter the half-step to the supreme realm. Although it was just a doppelganger, Night Sorrow was powerless against it. Left with no choice, he could only take out the ancient coffin and block in front of him. When the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King hit the ancient coffin, it was immediately absorbed completely. There wasn't even a ripple. What kind of treasure is this? Looking at the ancient coffin floating in front of Night Sorrow, the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King said in shock. But at this moment, his face suddenly changed and he said, "Not good. Something has happened to the sea calming iron. I have to rush over. Eternal Devil Tower, protect yourself for a while. I'll be back soon." What? Hearing this, the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower collapsed. He didn't expect the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King to leave at this moment. And Night Sorrow knew what was going on. It should be the heaven-defying beast snatching the sea-calming iron. That was something that the Sea Dragon clan would risk their lives to protect. Naturally, it was more important than the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. After that, without the threat of the Sea Dragon King's doppelganger, Night Sorrow successfully purified Little 8, who had no resistance. After being purified, Little 8 began to help Night Sorrow and the rest deal with the guards. They successfully eliminated all the guards. Let's go near the sea calming iron and check out the situation. If they are evenly matched, we'll help. If the difference is too great, we'll leave immediately. After Night Sorrow got Little 8, he thanked Yun Yi and the rest and said. Hearing this, no one had any objections. In fact, if there was a chance, they all wanted to get some of the sea calming iron and use it to strengthen their own divine weapons. Just as they were rushing to the location of the sea calming iron, Little 7, Little 8, and Little 9 had successfully merged together to form a new Heavenly Supreme Divine Tower. Although it was at the Heavenly Supreme level, its usefulness had increased countless times. Not only did it have a cultivation space that was 10 times faster, but it could also refine cultivation and resources directly into pure energy that could be absorbed directly. As long as a cultivator absorbed the converted pure energy, they would be able to raise their cultivation and save countless years of cultivation. Chapter 32:11. Its power was much stronger than Little 7's. And after combining, it could even release some energy directly to attack the enemy. It was almost equivalent to an attack from a Middle Sky Supreme. Its power was still very strong. It was no longer a decoration. It feels very good to combine them. Night Sorrow, let's hurry to the place where the battle is happening. We can quickly absorb the energy and convert it into pure energy that you can absorb. We can also help you attack. When Yishang was flying towards the Sea Dragon Royal Palace, Little 7 and Yishang were preaching the Tao. Then, he told Night Sorrow that the more serious the casualties, the more powerful they were and could absorb a large amount of energy from the dead. I got it. However, there is the Sea Dragon King and many Sea Dragons experts in the Sea Dragon Palace. We have to get closer bit by bit. Otherwise, we can't guarantee everyone's safety. While Night Sorrow replied, he had been using the Sea Dragon's eye to observe the situation around him. After approaching the Sea Dragon Palace, he sent a voice transmission to Heaven Defying. Senior Heaven Defying, how are things on your side? I have already brought people to the periphery of the Sea Dragon Palace. If you need our help, just say the word. Now, the Sea Dragon King and his elites have all been lured away by me and are far away from the Sea Dragon Palace. The ones fighting inside are basically my subordinates and the cultivators who were rescued. Heaven Defying, who heard the voice transmission, said and continued, their lives are important. But now, there is something more important. I didn't take out the sea calming divine iron and was discovered by the Sea Dragon King. At this moment, they are all chasing me. You can try and see if you can take out the sea calming divine iron. Senior Heaven Defying, I will try my best to help you snatch the sea calming divine iron. Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Heaven Defying. Then, he sent a voice transmission to everyone in front of him, telling them about this matter and seeing who agreed and who disagreed. In the end, no one objected. Only Little 7 sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, we need to go to the battlefield and absorb the energy. Only then can we help you better. Then let's split up for now. You guys go and absorb the energy. If we succeed, I will send a voice transmission to you and then everyone will gather together. How about this? Can you guarantee your safety? Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Little 7. It can guarantee our safety, but just in case, you still need to inscribe a concealment formation on our bodies. Little 7 asked Night Sorrow to summon them. Good. Remember, you must pay attention to your safety. It's best if you don't lose yourself because you've absorbed too much darkness energy. Got it? As Night Sorrow spoke, he inscribed a concealment array pattern on the tower. After hearing Night Sorrow's instructions, Little 7, Little 8, and Little 9 all gave their word and flew into the sky. After that, Night Sorrow led his men to the location of the sea-calming divine iron. Along the way, he sent voice transmissions to Heaven-Defying to ask about the sea-calming divine iron. The Heaven-Defying bead did not respond in time. It was obvious that it was having a hard time being chased by the Sea Dragon King. However, he still explained the matter clearly. After that, the Heaven-Defying beast sent a voice transmission. After you succeed, don't return to Sea Dragon City. Go straight to Slaughter Heaven Academy. If you can get all of the sea-calming divine iron, please leave me 1/10. That 1/10 can allow me to recover to half-step to Supreme Realm. Don't worry, Senior Heaven-Defying. If I get it, I'll definitely keep it for you. After you escape, come to Slaughter Heaven Academy to find me. After Night Sorrow said that, he began to explain to everyone about the sea-calming divine iron. The Heaven-Defying beast sent a voice transmission at the end. Don't worry, I know Heaven-Defying's 9 steps. Furthermore, I can transform back into a sword body. My speed can increase a lot. I won't be killed so easily. Good. Senior. See you at Slaughter Heaven Academy. After Night Sorrow said that, his attention was immediately focused. That was because he had already led his men to the sea-calming divine iron. As the Sea Dragon King and other super experts were mostly chasing after the Heaven-Defying beast. Ordinary guards were fighting with the cultivators of Sea Dragon City and those who were released. There were only 4 people left guarding the sea-calming divine iron. They were the 4th prince, the 5th prince, and their Dao companions. Their Dao companions were also sea dragons, but they were not of the Sea Dragon King's bloodline. Their auras were slightly weaker than the 4th prince and the 5th prince, but they were all experts among the lower heavenly sovereigns. The 4 of them were now underground, guarding the sea-calming divine iron. Night Sorrow also used the Sea Dragon's eye to see the 4 of them underground. There are 4 people below. Their strength is at the peak of the lower heavenly sovereign level. When we go down later, we will directly use the joint attack array. We should be able to finish them off quickly. After we finish them off, we will take the sea-calming divine iron. After Night Sorrow said that, he followed the entrance and entered the underground where the sea-calming divine iron was. As soon as they entered, they alarmed the 4th prince and the 5th prince, as well as their Dao companions. They saw that it was Night Sorrow and some other cultivators who had killed the Sea Dragon King. The 4th prince and the 5th prince's faces were filled with murderous intent. The 2 of them and their Dao companions did not say a word. As they transmitted their voices to the Sea Dragon King, they immediately attacked Night Sorrow and the rest. You overestimate yourselves. If I were you, I would definitely choose to escape immediately. It's better than losing your lives here. Seeing the 4th prince, the 5th prince, and their Dao companions directly attack. A dark smile immediately appeared on Dancing Lady's face. Her vertical eye also opened. And the truth was basically the same as she had expected. The 4th prince, the 5th prince, and their Dao companions were not a match for Night Sorrow and the rest at all. In less than 30 breaths of time, they were all killed by Night Sorrow and the rest. We have to hurry up. Before they died, they must have already sent a voice transmission to the Sea Dragon King. The Sea Dragon King will rush back soon. After killing the enemies guarding the place, Night Sorrow immediately looked at the sea-calming divine iron. This sea-calming divine iron was a thick black iron pillar. Its entire body was enveloped by dense black gas, emitting a powerful aura. However, this thing was a dead object and did not have an artifact spirit. With a glance, Night Sorrow determined that this thing was definitely very hard. He said, "Let's try our best to collect it." Let's try to collect as much as we can. All right. After Night Sorrow spoke, Dancing Lady and the rest did not delay and directly flew towards the sea-calming divine iron. However, after each of them tried, they all frowned. This sea-calming divine iron was simply too hard. They tried their best to attack with their divine weapons, but they could only cut off some iron shavings. Even if they used their special skills, they could not get it off. I finally know why the Sea Dragon King only left 4 people to guard this sea-calming divine iron. It turns out that this thing is so difficult to collect. Xian Nian, who had tried but could not collect a single bit of the sea-calming divine iron, said helplessly. Yunyi looked at Night Sorrow and asked, "Do you have a way to collect this thing?" Guarding this treasure but not being able to take it off at all, this feeling is really uncomfortable. Chapter 32:12. Senior Heaven Defying has already sent me a voice transmission, telling me that the Sea Dragon King has given up on chasing him and has chosen to turn back. We don't have much time left. Let me try. Night Sorrow said and activated the Treastrimsa Battle Mystic technique. Then, he used the golden heavenly halberd to unleash the godly shot. This was his stronger attack. However, it had no effect on the divine sea-calming iron. Against a material that was half a step into the limitless realm, his attack level was still too low. He could not shake it at all. Looks like it won't work. Although it's a pity, we have to go. Otherwise, when the Sea Dragon King returns, we'll all be killed. Seeing that Night Sorrow's attack had no effect, Yen Tianlai said. His words immediately received the agreement of Dancing Lady, Wu Hua, and the others. They all knew that no one present had the ability to obtain the divine sea-calming iron. I'll try one last time. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who had been silent for a moment, spoke again. He took out the ancient coffin from the space, charged it, and smashed it. After all, the ancient coffin had appeared in front of everyone. He had no intention of continuing to hide it. Of course, this was also because the divine sea-calming iron was too valuable. Boom! When the ancient coffin smashed onto the divine sea-calming iron, it immediately let out a loud explosion. And the divine sea-calming iron that was hit was directly broken and collapsed on the spot. Success! Amazing! Seeing that Night Sorrow had used the ancient coffin to break the divine sea-calming iron, Dancing Lady immediately shouted in surprise. She knew that if Night Sorrow succeeded, everyone present would benefit. She was very excited to be able to obtain a half-step to Supreme Realm material. The others were also very happy. Yen Tianlai even raised his arms and shouted. Be quiet, don't alarm the other enemies. After Yunyi reminded, he immediately looked at Night Sorrow and said, Brother Yi, quickly collect it. Let's leave quickly. Then I'll collect the divine sea-calming iron first. When we return to Lu Tian Academy, we'll split it evenly. Of course, Senior Heaven Defying will have a share. Does anyone have any objections? Night Sorrow said before he was about to collect the divine sea-calming iron. Hearing this, Su Lei, who had been silent all this while, urged, Why are you still being so wishy-washy at this time? Hurry up and collect them. Let's leave this place before the Sea Dragon King returns. Yes. He had to act fast. If we delay for even a moment, we might not be able to escape. Xian Nian said anxiously. To them, the Sea Dragon King was an invincible existence. However, Night Sorrow had used brute force to break the sea-calming divine iron. This was already considered a pleasant surprise. They were all very satisfied. As for how much they would get, that was a matter for later. First, they had to leave safely. Everyone, please enter my space paradise. I will take you out of here. After collecting the divine sea-calming steel, Night Sorrow looked at everyone and said. When he used the 9 steps of the Defiant of the Heavens, his speed was faster than everyone present, which was why he said that. Hearing this, Yun Yi, Xian Nian, and Ape Tianlai, who had complete faith in Night Sorrow, entered without hesitation. Seeing this, the remaining cultivators didn't dally and were sucked in one after another. After that, Night Sorrow took the divine sea-calming steel and his friends and quickly left the underground. When he returned to the surface, he sent a message to Little Seven. Little Seven, how's the collection going on your side? The Sea Dragon King will be back soon. We need to leave quickly. Hundreds of cultivators and sea dragons have already died here. Every second we stay here, we will gain a lot more. If we collect another 10 breaths, you should be able to advance to an upper earthly sovereign. You decide if you want to take this risk or not. Little Seven quickly sent a message to Night Sorrow. He could advance his cultivation from a middle earthly sovereign to an upper earthly sovereign. This was definitely a great temptation for Night Sorrow. After all, he didn't know how long it would take for him to advance if he relied on his own cultivation. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said, Little Seven, wait for my news. I will ask Senior Heaven Defying how long it will take for the Sea Dragon King to return. You ask first. We will continue to work. Little Seven replied. Together with Little 8 and Little 9, they continued to control the tower's energy. At this time, Night Sorrow sent a message to Heaven Defying. Senior Heaven Defying, we have already collected the divine sea-calming steel. How long will it take for the Sea Dragon King to return to the Sea Dragon Palace? He knew that the Sea Dragon King and the rest had given up on chasing Heaven Defying. However, Heaven Defying wouldn't have gone far. The Sea Dragon King is now 20 breaths away from the nearest teleportation portal. In other words, he will return to the Sea Dragon Palace in about 20 breaths. Heaven Defying, who had been following the Sea Dragon King, said. Hearing that the divine sea-calming steel had been collected, he was naturally very happy. However, he didn't dwell on this issue. Instead, he revealed his location. He felt that the teleportation portal that Night Sorrow had set up was very close. Hearing this, Night Sorrow said, Senior, you don't have to move. Just wait for me over there. I will be there soon. No. I will meet you outside the Sea Dragon City. Heaven Defying heard Night Sorrow's words and immediately refused. Senior, if you rely on flying to return here, it will take too long. It's better to wait over there. Night Sorrow retorted and transmitted his voice to Little Seven. Little Seven, come out immediately when you have absorbed enough. The Sea Dragon King will return in about 15 breaths. Don't worry. We will absorb another 5 breaths and it will be enough for you to advance. Little Seven replied and continued to absorb energy. At this moment, Whirling Woman, who was in the space grotto heaven, asked curiously, Night Demon, why haven't you chosen to escape? Don't be anxious. There will be no problem in a few breaths. Night Sorrow promised. Actually, he was also very anxious. However, in order to increase his cultivation, he had to take the risk of 10 breaths. At this moment, No Flower urged, Boss, hurry up. The Sea Dragon King's strength is not something we can fight against. It's fine. There's still time. Night Sorrow roughly estimated that they had more than 10 breaths of time left. The Sea Dragon King should need to reflect when he returned to the Sea Dragon Palace before he could catch up. Night Sorrow. We are back. 2 breaths in advance. Just as Night Sorrow was waiting, Little Seven's voice transmission suddenly came. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately urged, Hurry. Go faster. We are already trying our best to escape. Little Seven continued. Not long after he finished speaking, Night Sorrow saw them and immediately kept them in the space grotto heaven. Then, he quickly flew out of the city. Where are you going? Today, you and the sea-calming divine iron cannot leave my sea of evil. After flying for about 10 breaths, Night Sorrow suddenly heard the Sea Dragon King's angry roar. He immediately burned his bloodline power and released his power of merit. He flew towards the teleportation array as fast as he could. He was prepared to use the nearest teleportation array to teleport to where Heaven Defying was. Chapter 32:13 Go faster. I can even feel the Sea Dragon King's aura. As Night Sorrow flew towards the teleportation array, Wuhua urged him. Don't worry, we will leave safely. Hearing Wuhua's words, Night Sorrow replied and continued to speed up. The reason why he was so stable was that when the Sea Dragon King roared, they had already flown out of the Sea Dragon Palace. The elites of the Sea Dragon City were all summoned to the Sea Dragon Palace to fight. Along the way, they did not encounter any cultivators who tried to stop them. They maintained a very fast speed. Moreover, although Night Sorrow's absolute speed was slower than the Sea Dragon King, it was not much slower. Bastard! How can a Middle-earthly sovereign's speed be so fast? The Sea Dragon King, who was chasing behind, could feel Night Sorrow's aura in the void, but he could not see his figure. This made the Sea Dragon King very angry. This was because the divine sea calming iron was extremely important to the Sea of Evil. Basically, it was the source of power. Without it in the future, the strength of the sea dragons in the Sea of Evil would be greatly reduced. This was something that the Sea Dragon King could not accept. Burn. Blood of the Sea Dragon royal family. Unable to catch up, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that he burned his blood and used the power of his blood to increase his speed. With the support of the Sea Dragon royal family's blood, his speed increased by a lot. When Night Sorrow approached the teleportation array, he successfully saw Night Sorrow's figure. Die for this emperor. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to enter the teleportation array, the Sea Dragon King roared and attacked the teleportation array at the same time. This attack covered Night Sorrow and the teleportation array. In his opinion, even if this attack could not kill Night Sorrow, it would destroy the teleportation array. It's over. This attack is definitely the strongest attack of an upper earthly sovereign. None of us can take it. Seeing that the Sea Dragon King had caught up and attacked, Wuhua sighed and said. At this moment, he somewhat blamed Night Sorrow for stopping for 10 breaths of time. He felt that if it wasn't for those 10 breaths of time, they would have already reached the ends of the world. What are you worried about? Although I don't have the ability to fight with the Sea Dragon King for a long time, receiving one of his attacks is not a problem. Night Sorrow roared and took out the ancient coffin again, blocking in front of him. The Sea Dragon King's attack was directly absorbed by the ancient coffin without even a sound. Yeah. How could I forget about this treasure on your body? It can even break the sea calming divine iron, let alone the Sea Dragon King's attack. Seeing Night Sorrow use the ancient coffin to block the Sea Dragon King's attack, the swaying woman, who had also become nervous, relaxed. She knew that Night Sorrow had successfully blocked this attack, which meant that they had enough time to use the teleportation array to leave. Sea Dragon King, we'll meet again. At this moment, Night Sorrow did not dare to be careless. He shouted towards the Sea Dragon King and used the teleportation formation to leave. Teleport to the heaven-defying beads location. Escaped. Very good. Let's continue to use the teleportation formation to teleport further. Quickly leave the Sea Dragon King's territory. When Tian and I saw Night Sorrow, he did not ask about the sea-calming divine iron and directly entered the teleportation formation with him, successfully teleporting out of the Sea of Evil. Then, the two of them ran all the way. Using the teleportation formation many times, they successfully returned to the Lu Tian Academy. After arriving at the Lu Tian Academy, Night Sorrow invited Tian and I and the rest to his residence as guests. This was one of his rites. After everyone drank the celebratory wine, Night Sorrow took out the sea-calming divine iron. He said, according to our plan, everyone can distribute this evenly. But now, we don't have the ability to cut it open. I'm going to let Senior Tian and I absorb this sea-calming divine iron first. When he advances to the half-step to the Supreme Realm, we'll let him distribute it for everyone. What do you think? I think this is very reasonable. If we find a half-step to the Supreme Realm to do it, the other party will definitely ask for a high reward. If we distribute it ourselves, there won't be such a problem. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Swaying Woman agreed. Su Lei and the rest naturally had no objections. Therefore, everyone decided to let Tian and I cultivate at Night Sorrow's place first. When he broke through, he would distribute the sea-calming divine iron. However, Tian and I was also a person who was particular. Before cultivating, he took out all the resources on him and distributed them to everyone present. Everyone, I'll need about 200 years to advance to the half-step to the Supreme Realm. I hope you can wait patiently. Thank you. After distributing the resources, Tian and I began to cultivate in seclusion to absorb the sea-calming divine iron. While Tian and I was cultivating in seclusion, Night Sorrow looked at Swaying Woman and the rest and said, I'm also going to cultivate in seclusion to break through to a new realm. Let's meet again another day. There won't be any deviation. Also, I hope that our cooperation will last for a long time. We're willing to work with you for a long time. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Swaying Woman took the initiative to speak first. Not to mention Night Sorrow's potential and luck, just the ancient coffin on him was invincible among the heavenly supreme level. She felt very safe working with Night Sorrow. Wu Hua was already Swaying Woman's subordinate, so he naturally had no objections to this matter. As for Su Lei and the others, they were already Night Sorrow's subordinates, so there was no need to mention them. After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast finished making arrangements for Yun Yi and Xian Nian, Night Sorrow went into seclusion and summoned the lower half of the Eternal Divine Tower. After entering it, according to Little Seven's instructions, he began to absorb energy in the space that was accelerated by 10 times. In the accelerated space, he continuously absorbed for 1,000 years. Night Sorrow felt his aura change, and he successfully advanced to the level of Upper Earthly Supreme. He was not far from the peak of Earthly Supreme. After that, Night Sorrow left the lower half of the Eternal Divine Tower and successfully transcended the tribulation in the sky above his residence. Ha ha ha. Congratulations, Brother Knight, for successfully advancing to the next level. At our level, it's not easy to advance even a single step. It's worth celebrating. After Night Sorrow successfully transcended the tribulation, Yun Yi congratulated him. Haha. Thank you, Brother Yun. Night Sorrow smiled and said, let's not go home until we're drunk today. Okay. Then let's not go home until we're drunk. Also, there's one more thing that I'd like to ask you to vouch for. Yun Yi said at this moment. Oh. What is it? Brother Yun, please tell me. Night Sorrow said, puzzled. It's like this. Brother Xian Nian and I are not from Lu Tian Academy. We've been staying here for a long time, so we don't have much freedom to move around. Therefore, we want to apply for an area within Lu Tian Academy's sphere of influence to do some things. We need you to vouch for this. Yun Yi said slowly. Then, Xian Nian added, in Lu Tian Academy's sphere of influence, we don't have to worry about the Sea Dragon King coming after us. Also, we're very close to Brother Knight, so we can take care of each other. I see. No problem. Wait for me to ask the elders about this. Night Sorrow naturally did not object to this matter. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Elder Su, who had once taken care of him. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.